Let's do it.
Man, everyone just calm down for the recording starts.
All right, here we are. A little change up for tonight. It was supposed to be 5 guys, 5 rings. But
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
we got cut. We got cut one short, lumberjacked from the start. So instead, we got 4 of us here to fuel this hype machine that is the legend of the 5 rings. Apologize to anybody who's tuning in here hoping for some Netrunner action tonight, but we just figured that enough information had accumulated, and this is the only time that fits into Hollis's busy social schedule. So
yeah, we gotta get him what we can.
Yeah,
on loan. He's your designated player.
So how? Yeah,
probably accurate.
Just to go from the start, you have the right side of your screen. I believe you will see 2 new players into this Rings saga. And on the left side of your screen, you will see some original OGs, as they like to call themselves, of the game.
I don't call myself that.
Yeah, I don't. No one says that.
I'm just reading the pre-submitted formatted text here. The intro. This is like WWE style. Corey, don't you write your own intros and I just read the?
Yeah.
So this is how we're going down. So L5R, what's going on, guys? Everyone excited for it?
Yeah.
No,
I'm in.
I just want to let you know, by the way, the 5th person is still here because one of the rings is void. The void ring, so that is nothingness is represented accurately.
Yeah, perfect. He knew. That's why he couldn't show up. He was
See,
like, "Oh no,
Jameson, yeah, you got to learn your lore. You got to know your rings if you're going to play the 5 rings. All right, let's start there.
Is it like a tier system? Can I start with 1 or 2 and work my way up, or is it 5 or nothing?
Yeah, I think it's been a long time.
All I've got is this one I'm supposed to throw into Mordor or something.
Close.
Or can I? Hey, can I give you some Canadian milk and some soft lumber for these rings?
What?
It's a political joke. It's a political
How
joke,
do you make
Hollis.
this into Settlers of Catan? What is
There's some kind of euphemism.
I hear Canadians aren't allowed to send our soft lumber and Canadian dairy down there no more.
Definitely not.
It's a trade tariff joke. That's all I'm saying.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Classic trade tariff jokes.
Yeah.
classic?
Come for the L5R content. Stay for the trade tariff jokes. So, anyway.
This is what you get here.
Soft wood.
Soft
got
wood.
soft wood now.
Soft wood. I don't know why they had to classify it as Canadian soft timber either.
Oh god.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So L5R hype, right? Excitement. So I guess it'd be interesting. You guys as new players, what kind of has you really interested and excited about the game?
Well, let Hollis go.
intriguing?
Hollis, as soon as the first article came out, Hollis hasn't been able to keep quiet about this. So
Yeah.
let's let him ramble.
So for me, it's actually pretty simple. When I was, so it's sort of lame. But when I was 12 or 13 or what have you, I was playing a card game called the Pokemon had a collectible card game. They still do, but when I was 13, I was playing that game, and we would always try to read the Scry magazine at the time, which of course was usually focused on Magic the Gathering and L5R and other CCGs. So I would always see the Legend of Five Rings CCG advertised, and I was always kind of interested, but I didn't really know a lot about the IP. So I was like, I guess this is really cool, but I don't really get it. I'm really young. I was really young at the time. But the concept of having feudal Japan, and there's these alliances, so you're one side, but you have an alliance with another side, and you guys are battling back and forth. That concept was always very cool to me. And so I went to Pokemon to Magic, and then I didn't play card games for a long time. Then I went to Netrunner. So I kind of just, L5R was sort of this thing that I was interested in, but I kind of just let it go. I figured I would never ever play the game because the game eventually died off without me ever being available to participate. So basically, the moment I heard that FFG bought the license or whatever, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, this is my time. This is the time to be interested in this IP and to be like, I'm so sorry I waited." 10 years of my life, 20 years of my life to get really into this.
I thought the story was going to be you were playing Pokemon at the card game shop and you saw all the big kids playing this other game and they just said, come back in 10 years, Hollis.
No.
Come back when you're grown, son.
At that time, they were all playing Magic, which, I mean, to be honest, where I am in Huntsville, Alabama, I knew no one that played L5R. Nobody. So I didn't even have a grasp of how big the sphere of influence for the game was or what the game was even about. I just know they kept releasing cards that were basically promo cards out of Scry magazine. And I would always read the card and be like, okay, this looks cool, but I don't know what the hell this does. I have no idea. But yeah, it was sort of like on the list of games for me to play. But I think by the time I was old enough to really get that it was another CCG that I played with a group of people and it had like this sort of story element to it. Like card games are kind of just dead to me. Like I didn't really have an interest. So now that I have a renewed interest in card games, it's basically perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah.
The stars have aligned.
It has. Right. It really. Yeah.
I didn't even know there was other card games outside of FFG. So when they bought the license, I was just like, oh, I guess there is other stuff out there. I don't know. No,
I think they sold L5R in Canada, right? I think it was. I went to many tournaments in Toronto, so I know it was there. So you can't blame that fact. I know you're in a bubble up there, your softwood bubble.
Did you get some of our Canadian dairy and take it back with you?
Only internally ingested.
The Wisconsin dairy farmers.
I actually had my car broken into in Toronto at an L5R tournament. Can you imagine that? I had to drive all the way back 11 hours with a broken driver's side window.
What?
Yeah. That was fun.
Wow. Hopefully it wasn't winter.
No, but it's... Yeah, long story, yeah, but no, it wasn't winter, but luckily I stopped at a McDonald's or one of your roadsides up there, and I saw someone left a bunch of garbage bags out, and I stole one, taped it up with duct tape I kept in my car, and luckily I did because it poured most of the way home, like pouring rain.
How do you get across the border like that?
I think they just felt bad. They stripped my car down that time. It was like 3 hours. So.
Wow! Holy crap!
Yeah, and that's what I go to every time I come to visit you guys.
Splendid.
I think for me, what was cool about this game, and there wasn't much of a community where I was. Magic pretty much dominated the table spaces. Yeah. So if you weren't playing Magic or in the bigger cities, probably like Toronto and stuff like that for us, this didn't spread out to the to where I was as big as it probably should have. But what intrigues me is this continuing story and how the players shape the game, and you just hear people that have stuck with this game through the ups and downs, and I think that's what intrigues me about these games is the fan base behind them that drive it. And I just hear good things about Five Rings people, so I'm excited, and I'm excited to expand off into something that's unique. If you've read over the spoiler articles, the mechanics all seem pretty fresh for somebody that hasn't played this before. It's not like I'm pretty sure, because it usually happens that when you have a smaller design house like Fantasy Flight, some elements of different card games always kind of bubble up, or you can compare things to other games probably from a same developer, and I believe that will happen here, but I mean, let's just see how it all comes together, right? So, I mean, what we've seen so far, I like. Um, there's some parts that I'm scratching my head at a little bit, but we'll talk about those when we get to it. What about you guys? What are you excited for, or what are you most hyped about the return of this game?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
So, hi, my name is Corey, and I started playing L5R in Obsidian Edition, and so I played the game for quite some time. I kind of dropped out towards, I think, like Lotus a little bit, or End of Diamond, something like that. But I played it a bunch during like that big time frame, and it was kind of one of the first like CCGs of the time that I had like a really great group of people that I played with, traveled with to events and tournaments. And it was just a blast. Like the storyline events were a lot of fun. The community was really cool. Met some of like really longtime friends through that game, and so just the fact to one get it through Fantasy Flight, to have it flip to an LCG, which the CCG format was always something that, as I got more and more with it, I started disliking just because of it being a giant money sink. And it's, you know, you get to points where you have to buy boxes of cards looking for one copy of this so you can complete this deck build or something like that. And so coming from a lot of the living card games that FFG already has, like I like that format. So to be able to see this game that I've invested so much time in and I was really passionate and love to flip to that format, this has me real amped and excited for it.
What was the original clan?
Me?
Yes.
I think when I first played
or do you not want to share that?
No, I think when I first played in Obsidian, I think the first starter I bought was a Phoenix deck, but I was not a Phoenix player. I was awful at that clan. The clan that I played the most, like when I started playing competitively, was Path of Shadow. Like as soon as that clan came into the game, I was a ninja player through and through up until they killed it in the storyline like a couple years later. But that was hands down my favorite. I was a dirty ninja player.
Is that frustrating though? Like having so much tied into something and then seeing it get wiped out in the story like that. Should we not, as new players, should you not like hold something so dear because it could be gone?
I don't feel like FFG would do the AEG mistake, because I will say at this time, and I played a bunch of CCGs and I played a lot of AEG, and I played like their old Doomtown. So I went from like Doomtown killing my faction, the Flock, to then turning right around to have them kill my faction, L5R. And so I was just like, I'm just not going to play any of their games, because whatever faction I touch just gets killed. They all die. They get removed. I'm just a death sentence to whichever faction I show up and pick up. So that can get discouraging if you get really passionate behind it, but I don't see that being something that's going to happen in the LCG format, unless they trigger something with some crazy rotation format that we don't know. So,
maybe that's an indictment on you, Corey. Maybe you need to look in the mirror like, oh, maybe it's the idea these factions I'm picking are corrupt and horrible and broken.
I just get stuff killed. Look at Georgia and Netrunner. As soon as I find a deck, she's dead. She's gone. Dead.
You gravitate towards the doomed.
Yeah. So, yeah. Good stuff. So, yeah, Spags, you're up.
I don't know. Talking L5R here.
Yeah.
So I first got in, I don't know the exact time frame, I think it was 1996. I went to Gen Con every year when it was in Milwaukee because it was like a half hour away. They had a $100,000 giveaway. AEG gave away 10,000 starter decks for free that year to get people in. Pretty cool, right? $10 starter decks. And what I do, my friends and I, we were there. You got your badge punched. We were paying people $1. Some people just like, yeah, free, whatever. Can you go over there and get a deck for me? And we ended up with like 30 decks this way. And then the next year was the Day of Thunder, the culmination of the first storyline. And I did pretty well. I played Unicorn. That's what I started with. And I ended up playing Reese Sosby, barely losing her. She ended up becoming the story lead a few years later. I don't know if you remember her. Divisive figure, like anyone involved with the game, usually at the higher levels. But yeah, and then I gravitated towards the Shadowlands, and I think one of my better finishes was in 2000, a few years later. Ended up taking top 16 out of like 600 people. So yeah,
Wow.
It was fun. Yeah, so get this. You want to talk about some grinders. You think he played at like Worlds or Gen Con. Thursday of Gen Con that year, 2000, 600-person Swiss. It was like 8 rounds, 9 rounds. Top 16 make it to Saturday.
That's
Okay. I finished like 20th. So now I got to play Friday. 8 more rounds of Swiss with everyone else who's left over.
Wow.
I make it to the final table. I'm playing Shadowlands, and each day is a storyline prize. I basically, my friends and I try to bribe this guy to get the prize because like no one wanted Shadowlands. We were going to basically corrupt and destroy the prize. And the guy didn't go for it. He had a baller start, beat me anyhow. And then Saturday, then another whoever made those cuts plus all the people who made it. Imagine from like people got buys in from like Kotais and other tournaments, national champions. Another 8-round Swiss on Saturday with like 200 people, 850 people, and then they took top 32 from that and played it. Part of it that day, part of it the next day. Yeah, it was pretty wild. But yeah, L5R was good, man. I had a lot of friends in it, and I'm looking forward to possibly hanging out with a bunch of them again.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, just because like when I saw the announcement and like the first article, I start seeing people that like I hadn't talked to since like we kind of all dropped out of L5R. All of a sudden start like crawling back out like, what's coming out? And it's like, oh man, I guess I'm buying a card game. I haven't played a card game in like 10 years or whatever. And so the thing of being able to, I guess the possibility of seeing people that I haven't seen in forever or like met up and played in events is also like super exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, in Netrunner we have that too, right? I feel like we've made a pretty good community. You know, I've met a lot of cool people, made friends. But the same back then in the 90s was a little more early internet and like using IRC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, we stayed in touch with each other. And so basically kind of what Netrunner has become as the game goes on, sometimes it's less about the game, these events, and more about it's just like a reunion. Just like, hey, it's an excuse to everyone to hang out and drink and party. And
Did you guys all chat on like ICQ and MSN?
I was an ICQ person for sure. Yeah.
You know, you're making fun of all that stuff, but that's how it was back then, all right? You kids these days. Well, you go to events and you'd print your map out, and you'd be like, we're coming to your tournament once we make sure we don't miss this turn. Then we're just like following along. It's fantastic.
And I actually, back in the day, my friend and I actually ran one of the more prominent L5R websites for a few years, so called The Stronghold. Original name.
Stronghold. Nice.
So is there any aspects that you guys are hoping to see in this game, and any aspects you're hoping to see dropped?
I mean, I think like opinions on drops will probably go as we go through some of the phases it's been announced, because I'm sure there'll be some thoughts based on how some of the old rules were compared to, I guess, how FFG is trying to tweak and change it. As far as features in the game, I mean, the storyline being able to have that little manipulation and control, but that's really cool. I mean, I'm also excited to see players that I know from other games and stuff and see what clans and styles they gravitate towards as the game develops.
Yeah, I think that's another aspect that I'm excited for, and Hall has touched on this before, where I think just in our casual chat, is that we haven't really had a game out, like, if you compare it to Netrunner, everybody bounces around factions. There's not many people that are 100% loyal to the end, and this looks like a game that could have some people putting lines in the sand from core set and sticking with like their faction through the ups and downs, and you know, the overpowers, the OPs, the underpowers, however FFG curves their games these days. I don't know.
For sure. I think you will. I mean, I still have old friends. I can tell you what clans they played and what they, they were solo clan players, and I think you'll still have that because they're different enough in their play styles that people will gravitate towards it. Like if I'm more of a turtling control player, like let's say in Magic you're a blue-white or a blue player or something, I think that that translates over to L5R once you say Corey, like
Yeah.
different enough.
Yeah.
If you're aggressive, you're going to play Lion, or like if you played Shadowlands or Unicorns, depending on your flavor.
Yeah. And I feel like a big thing too is a lot of people are going to be influenced by artwork and characters.
Yes.
Because that was a big thing. People who are new to the game, they would see a piece of artwork or a character and they'd be like, that guy or that girl looks badass. I want to play whatever clan they're in. And they would immediately see like a theme or a style built in, and it would just sell them. And they would just want to play that because they look cool. Same way, I guess, like some people do miniature game armies. You like the look of these characters, these people, so you want to play that group.
Yeah, I mean the Asian artwork that's built into this, and the classical like ninja samurai stuff, that whole genre is is really, really cool. So I mean, I think it's got mass appeal, right? So
yeah, and the artwork they've shown for this game so far is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
like from the way that the card layouts look, where the art is just a major focus of the card, is just it's gorgeous.
I'm really impressed. Yeah, looking at them, they're really focusing on that art box. The only thing is it the what's in the upper left, the Fate, or is that the Glory? That pink lotus flower.
Oh yeah, that's the Fate cost.
The Fate cost, yeah. To me, that's the only thing that's a little glaring. Like it looks like something that should be on Diva in Overwatch or something, right? Like it's a little like Akihabara, kind of a little bright and modern to me compared to the rest of the card. But maybe that's just my opinion.
It is just your opinion. I respect that.
It's just, I don't know. Some of them, especially, you look at like a darker colors, there's like a crab. It's so subtle, and then all of a sudden that bling, this like pink purple thing in the corner. Like no crab would want that on their card. Like I'm surprised they didn't change it. I know that they have that token based around it, but
yeah. But I think that's a neat thing too, to see how the player base like they theme it all right with like their clan stuff and everything. Because I remember like the old school L5R days, you would see like all the glass strongholds, people coming up with really crazy things for their favor tokens. There was a lot of cool personality and stuff built in to the players and the stuff, the flair they brought to the table.
One of my favors I used for a while was I actually had a miniature book of the Five Rings.
Nice.
Is there any way that I can use dice in this game?
Wow. Nope.
We've gone there already.
No. Day one, it's like the first page in the rule book. Do not use dice. Dice are dishonorable.
Dishonorable.
Dice and gambling is a big part of Rokugan culture, right? So I feel like they would be thematically flavorful to have dice in the game. Now, granted, they would have to be like wood or ivory or bone or something, like some kind of artisanal die. None of these ANRPC metal dice.
Artisanal die.
So it all depends on the die itself. The judge,
yes.
The judge will rule that.
They don't have judge. They don't have a judge program.
Maybe you could just bribe for the ability to play with the dice.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's something that's not going to be in the game, right?
No, it's not.
No.
It's not. I know they're not going to. Yeah, but that was something that was in the old one where you could come to like agreements. You would see situations where people would be like, I don't care about the prize support. Like, you can have the prize, just let me get the storyline reward. Yep. And you would see those negotiations on the table, like, quite often.
Well, the Scorpion clan is based around deceit and... Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pointing out here this bribery concept sounds a lot like Gamers Heads of Fate, Spags. Just want to say, near the end of that movie, just saying, you might or may not have been Meech. I don't know if you were Meech.
That was Meech. No, the thing is, Meech wasn't in. Meech was like a standalone person. Our team was the what were they called in that? What were the bad guys called? Their team in that.
The Zombies.
No, but there was an actual name to the team.
Is that the Legion or something?
Something along those lines. The one guy who wore face paint or whatnot. We never did that, but I was on the Dynasty in L5R, which was the Colot's 20 best men. But basically, we were like the most elite, hated players in the game, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, quote hated, but
yeah.
And in that movie, that was us, right? Those bad guys were fashioned after us. So
Sweet.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Gamers 3 Hands of Fate, I highly recommend it because it's basically, you know what that game is? Have you ever seen the real game? It's based on Legend of the Burning Sands, Corey.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Because they actually made a box.
I played that though.
So what are we dealing with here, Corey, for a setting in this game? I know we just dropped some Rokugan name out there. So can you walk us through a setup here, or where where the story starts, kind of maybe?
So I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier. It does have a very like Rokugan is a lot in like different like Asian culture, myth, like a heavy like Japanese style setting, and for those who are familiar with the old game or even like the new one, it seems to be from the preview articles FFG's had that they're kind of restarting the storyline over, or they're rolling back to around what was referred to as like the Clan War era, kind of like right when the original game kind of started. So very, very close to that. So that's pretty cool because that means that they're using a lot of old school characters that were like super popular when the game was like ramping up and getting really big. And so there's already some people that older players can immediately relate to and recognize and be like, oh man, that's awesome. This person's back. There are a few tweaks to some characters, but it's neat to see how they develop and turn out. But for new people, it's just like a brand new way for, you know, you guys to see the story kind of develop and unfold. And that's pretty cool. Now, I haven't really seen a lot aside from them mention like the Sugenja with like the magic and everything, but there is a fantasy element to this game. I know in like the old version of the game, you saw things like goblins, ogres, demons, you know, all this
Oni.
stuff. Yeah, the Oni, but you haven't seen any of that spoiled so far, other than just like the magic element.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see where they go with that in their version of the game, whether they embrace all of that like the AEG version did.
Yeah, the old game was it was, you know, it's basically inspired by feudal Japan, right? Samurai, code of honor, seppuku, you know, they kill themselves to redeem face. But it kind of took place more in like, imagine like a China, right? It was on a mainland and there was a great wall. It wasn't to the north, it was to the south. And one of the clans, the crab, they guarded that because beyond that were the lands of corruption and the demons and all that lived down there.
They were the Night's Watch of Rokugan.
Basically, but to the south. And then like the unicorn, you know, they were a clan, but they were formed, they're essentially like kind of like the Mongols, you know, they were like the horsemen and they came in. They weren't original Rokugani, but they were given a clan because they came in and I forget the exact thing. They saved them one time. They saved the Rokugan.
Well, I think it was like the lion. I think there was like a war or something that they kind of had like a favor owed to them, or the lion vouched for them because they like aided them, and for some reason I don't remember the exact. There's someone who's going to come in and like correct it and clarify it, but that's where I think it was. Is then like one of these main clans then vouched for them and helped them get their official status as a clan when they returned to the mainland, because they were like the main clan that would trade with the Gaijin, like all the different like groups of people outside of the Rokugan area. So they would come back with like all these items and things that they'd never seen before, and so it was pretty neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, and even the Scorpion, like they weren't in the original game. Like the Scorpion clan, the tricksters, them and they in the Shadowlands were in the first expansion, and the story was basically the Scorpion were like a destroyed clan because it was like, kind of like a Game of Thrones where like the Emperor they had some premonition or like something foretold to them that the Emperor was going to go corrupt, so they started a coup and said we have to take this person down, but no one else believed them, and they were struck down and destroyed, and so they started the game dispersed. They were kind of like a clan destroyed, and the head of their clan, or the head daughter, Biyu Shikachiko, who is one of the main characters, she was taken on as the Emperor's mistress, right, or whatever. It's just there's a lot of crazy story stuff going on, but I'm looking forward to more stuff like that. Hopefully they have a good story team.
And what's really cool is like in the new version, the Scorpion are starting as a playable faction,
right? And Shadowlands isn't.
Correct, and Shadowlands isn't. Which I have a lot of theories. I feel like when and if they big box this, I feel like Shadowlands has to be like the first one, because that was a huge faction in the game until they did that crazy thing where they changed him to Spider. But
yeah, that's a long story. But I think
they're going. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, the Shadowlands actually, part of them became an actual clan. Anyhow, I think they'll be like Tyranids. I don't know if you remember in Warhammer 40K, the Conquest game. The Tyranids are a huge faction, and they saved them, and they got like their own box eventually, and were finally released. So I think they'll do. You're right, they'll do the same thing.
Yeah,
They gotta be playable.
Yeah, I would like if they did the releases like the Conquest big boxes, where instead of they theme like a big box around like Thrones is doing, where it's like one house and they get a bunch of cards, they just do it where they introduce like a new clan, and it's themed around that new clan, but then there's a little bit of cards for all the other clans inside of it.
That's how you want your big boxes done?
I mean, I like the way they did it in Conquest. Okay. It was cool. It was neat.
You don't want like a legacy version of the 5 rings?
No.
Okay.
No. Keep it changing.
He wants an interesting storyline.
Yeah, I know. God, am I asking for too much? Yeah.
All right.
But some noticeable things that we haven't seen also is, of course, from like the old games. You had things like the Naga, Brotherhood of Sensei.
Those are all down the line, but
like Yoritomo's Alliance. But it would be really neat to see.
Again,
like, we haven't seen these type of things talked about or spoiled in FFG's version. So, will they exist in their variation of the setting? How will they develop them? Will they be a playable faction, or will they just be support characters? It's an interesting thing to see what happens. Yeah, because you mentioned even like Tottori. Well, he's not unaligned right now. So, and I think when he started, or soon after the game, he became Ronin in the original game.
He was a Ronin immediately. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he didn't get a line version. Did they ever do like a prequel version?
They did. Yeah, where he had a line version. Yeah, a Kodo Tottori. Yep.
Yep. So now so there's some really neat things to see what they do with it, what happens. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Apart from doing stuff with the licensing of this game, I was kind of wondering if they would stick with their standard living card game format with this, because as we saw, they're not opposed to going back to a collector or a collectible game, as in they did with Destiny, right? So, and they started all their card games used to be collectible, so I'm just kind of waiting now for which one of their next game, like card game releases, is going to be that first dive back into collectible.
Netrunner 2.0.
No.
Collectible nets. Yeah. They're making too much money on Destiny, man.
Yeah, you got to have a hot license to make it collectible.
And you don't think that 5 rings would have?
No, you have to have a real. You have to have a real license, I think.
Yeah, I think they're making a good call with stability, because I think that also entices a lot of people who stopped playing the original to want to come back, because they know that it's not going to be as big of a money sink as the old game was, and so they can kind of reconnect with the game without them having to keep forking over hundreds and hundreds of dollars like every couple months.
FFG is not about verticality; they're about horizontal, right? And they want you to be playing as many of their games as possible. And don't you feel like they paid a lot for this? Because I don't know if they paid a lot, but I assume for the IP, because they want to create a whole new. They want this world. They want their own IPs as opposed to like licensing from Games Workshop, because they don't have as much control. Whereas this, if they want to create a role-playing game, card game, miniatures game, I mean, they could create a variety of things off this IP, and I think so. They want the card game, to support that as long as possible.
And I feel you're already going to see that with the RPG stuff that they'll release. You look at what they started to do with Netrunner. When they have control over an IP, right? Like they're going to release obviously the storybooks to go along with it. You had the big Age of Netrunner one. You have the big Arkham Horror Investigator Chronicles one. You have side games, right? You saw the Android board game that came out. You had
Evangelist.
You had the mainframe and the one by Vaccarino, Infiltration,
that's it.
Right? So
that was just a reskin, but
So you have the IP and many more sources of content that they can release from it. So I think you'll see all of that come through with this game.
Yeah, because they bought the property, like
Yep.
so,
Yeah.
so they have it. They can do whatever they want with it.
Is there anything? There's no hidden fine print where AEG can buy it back like they did before.
No, if you look at the cards, I don't see copyright AEG on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Because I guess because is this like their first LCG where they like have complete control over it? Like they're not licensing parts of it out to somebody else. So this is like their first like start to finish. Like
Yep.
they have
I
it.
think so.
They don't have to run checks and balances past anybody. If they want to do something to the game,
Call of Cthulhu. I don't think right. There's no license there, right? That's open source.
I guess so.
I think at this point,
yeah,
it's a well-known IP,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's anyone you have to pay. But you're right. Everything else is a licensed product, or even the Netrunner is original, like to them, but they still have to put that Wizards of the Coast thing on there, right? They still
Yeah.
have to, whatever, sacrifice a child to Wizards every year for. I don't know.
Do they?
Sacrifice a child every year.
Is that where Damon went? Time to jump in the cauldron, Damon.
Is there anything you guys hope that they change about the living card game stuff, or even the organized play that we've seen, bringing that into Legend of the Five Rings? Because one thing off the top of my head is I really think what they need to do with this is learn from the previous games, and I hope they make a tighter rotation.
I am 100% on board with a tighter rotation, something that's sooner than what it is now. And I hope that they kind of see the impact it has on Netrunner and realize they need to speed it up for the other games. But we'll see what happens.
Sadly, Netrunner has become kind of the test bank for this, right? With the rotation and the new cache refresh. This is all new ground for FFGOP, isn't it? Like limited formats and rotating, and sadly Netrunner, I don't know if it's good or bad, they're the ones who are going to be bearing the brunt of this, and hopefully L5R can benefit down the road.
Yeah, they can see like what works and what doesn't.
I am happy to see them trying to take some risks and step outside of their comfort zone here and there. Whether it is, I don't want to say too little too late kind of thing, but I know there's been a demand for some changes in that structure. So it's nice to see them supporting other formats, and hopefully that continues to grow and tweak out and expand into the other games. Is there anything else you guys would like to see about, I know you said, Corey, you talked about big boxes, how you'd like to see it.
Yeah. I want to know when they're going to crack out those daimyō for prize support.
I have a lot of swords here.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get one. I have one right here. Actually, I should get a shirt too. You know, another cool thing that I like.
Yeah. I
least
still
back-
have like all my old clan shirts and the jacket that they did for that sealed thing.
I've got all of that. Should I go get it? I should go get a clan shirt on. So get this, they every Gen Con, how is this for a cool price? They had their worlds at Gen Con pretty much every year up until it got popular enough in Europe. It was more popular than here. They actually started alternating every year between US and Europe for worlds. But like when you showed up, you paid for your ticket and you got up there and you got a t-shirt with your clan symbol, and it said like War in the Heavens 1999, which was pretty awesome. So it was kind of like your trophy, like I was there, you know, like the band, like the tour t-shirt, you know, for bands. I was there and this is my clan, and I knew people all the time that wore their old ones around, like the future tournaments they were proud of. And like some years they were color coded, so you could wear them like, you know, when you go to a sports game and they want the whole crowd wearing the same color. Like you could look at the crowd and be like, look at how many yellow out there, how many purple, how many blue.
Well, that's a really cool aspect that, you know, I think they're always looking to see what kind of stuff they can pump into to kits and things like that, right? So
yeah, they have some really cool prizes. They also did a lot. You could get like your clan shirt with your clan champion image on the back of like the current one. And so you get like this really cool like full art of the clan champion, usually with like a quote or something on the bottom. It's pretty sweet looking.
Hey, Corey, check this. Before they got sued, do you know they got sued by the Olympic Committee? This is the original. There's the original L5R symbol, and they got sued. They couldn't use it anymore because the Olympic Committee said any interlocking set of 5 rings we own the rights to. And they had to change all the card backs. This was like 4 years into the game, which is bizarre. But yeah, look at this is one of the prizes you get, man. And this is I kept one of my better ones. I got rid of like
that was a prize?
Crap.
Yeah, this is like a first place prize. I got rid of a lot of them. Like my friend who went on to be the lead designer, Brian Reese, he won a suit of armor. They used to give full sets of samurai armor.
They did that at one of the kotais I went to, I think in North Carolina, was like one of the first one of those I saw. Yeah. And they had it like in a glass display case, and it was just like first prize was suit of armor.
I carry it the rest of the time, like on my back. This is disrespectful. By the way. This is what a Ronin would carry it on its back. See all the things you learn by playing L5R, all these feudal Japanese historical facts and
mannerisms.
One thing
look at how big the I said the community for this game got like huge for the card game, but also the RPG and like the live action, like those communities, the LARPs for it are huge, and like they're really dedicated.
The LARP was a huge thing every year at Gen Con. It got so big, they actually got their own storyline prize. Like the LARP had as much storyline effect as the person winning the world championship of the card game.
Wow. This explains Gamers Hands of Fate, by the way.
Yes.
So,
like, why that's even an element. Okay, got it.
Exactly, because the LARP became really big, man, and it was fun. It was fun.
So if we want stuff like that, like, should I be like tweeting to Team Covenant right now?
You can try.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna man, John's gonna have his work cut out for him, man, if he's gonna have to do some alternate big huge swords.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can even get that shipped up here.
Yeah.
Or the spinners. Do you remember the honor spinners, Corey?
Yeah.
Those are awesome too.
When honor would go to 40. Yeah.
Yeah, or down the negative, whatever. Yeah, they had these little dials you could get that people made that like keep track of your honor. You'd spin and you could remove the face. So that was another cool thing. Like the top 16 every year got a special spinner face, so you could bring that to the tournament. That was your way of being like, you know, like we had like a top 8 playmat that you did that thing. Like, boom, man, I got top 8 at this tournament.
Yeah, all the gadgets.
Sounds
I still probably have like bags of koku. Probably like.
Oh, I threw it all out, Corey, when I moved last year. When I sold my house, I had like 10,000 old koku.
Yeah.
Do you know what this was? On every package and every booster pack had 1 koku. Starters had like 5. They'd hand out sheets of it at tournaments. I had like 100 koku sheets, and it was like, what do you want to say? Like a like a what kind of program is it? Like a participation program? Basically, they would put up like, because it was a collectible card game, so you had like promos and like rare, you know, foil cards or rare cards, and you know, rares were worth money. Like back in the day, like rares are worth 30, 40, 50 bucks. And but you could send in this koku to them and they would send you cards.
Yeah. And then they even did where they did like a special, I think, like set that you could like redeem for koku. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like, I think it was like a 20 or 30 card like little like mini expansion that all had like some crazy characters and like alternates and stuff like that, and you could buy with koku. It was... So
yeah, like every pack had a koku on it. So like, and you could send in 50 for a card. So a booster box is 36. So they did a whole set. That's pretty awesome. You know, eventually I just kept the whole wrapper. I remember when I started playing, I was cutting out all the little koku.
Oh,
counting that was a modern, man.
Yeah. I remember going to sealed deck tournaments and like newer players, and I would just be walking around the table seeing like the pack of wrappers and be like, hey, you gonna do anything with that? And then just be like, no, man, I'm just like scooping it all into a bag and just going and like saving it.
You're like the guy collecting the cans, man. Like in Michigan, Michigan cans are worth 10 cents a piece.
Yeah.
So dudes are collecting those cans like they're gold there.
It's it seems like it was very well supported from an AEG.
Oh, without a doubt. Like it was a small company, but I'll tell you what, I called up one time because I didn't get something for koku one time, Corey. This was like 98, 99. The owner's dad answered the phone and was like, I'm so sorry that you didn't get this. I'll send you out a ton of stuff, and sent me like 5 times the amount of supposed to.
It's so awesome. Yeah, and the interesting thing about the game, just to throw out, because like it was started with AEG, and then they did like the 5 Rings publishing group, and then I think like that ended up getting purchased by Wizards, and then Wizards got acquired by Hasbro. And then Hasbro kind of required to then buy the license from AEG. and then like they had that game for I think like 3 years,
Yep.
and then put it up for sale before like AEG could get it back. But then AEG ended up winning it back in the purchase.
Right.
And so they went back to AEG. So it
So this
moved
is
around
another
a bit.
game WotC owned
Yeah,
briefly,
but
albeit
they
brief.
just. But I think when Hasbro got them, it was one of the games that they put on the chopping block when they were just like clearing house of like properties and stuff from WotC, and so they just like sold it. But what's cool though is for a period of time the game had like DCI rankings and it was tracked under DCI numbers and everything, so you could go to tournaments and track your progress and
Yep.
all of that. So, and then went back to AUG and all that stuff went away. But,
So were the prize heavy days when it was Wizards?
No.
no, but
Wizards ran it dry.
I don't know. I'm not one of those people that hated the Wizards era. I think they had some good structure for the events, but the prizes weren't as crazy.
No.
But it wasn't bad. I don't hate on that time frame, but it was rough whenever like it changed hands, and then you kind of got used to how it was, and then it changed again, and you're just like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but let's see what's up.
All right, let's talk about the game itself here then. How we're breaking down and the comparison from the old to the new.
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of what we're referencing. So I'm sure you've seen these, but FFG's put up 2 preview articles where they're kind of going through and spoiling kind of the phases of the game. And so I guess kind of the idea is just kind of run through the phases, some first impressions, and then from new players, and then those of us who played the old game can kind of chime in, pointing out some noticeable differences from how it played in the original. So maybe people who were not original FFR players can kind of see what FFG has hoped to improve or the changes and stuff to the game. Okay, I'll shut up.
So how did the original game set up?
I can hit this. Well, it was
Yep.
kind of similar. You had 2 decks.
Yep.
You had a Dynasty deck and you had a Fate deck. And your Dynasty deck was so that was already unique enough, right? You have 2 different decks. And you had a Stronghold. That's the faction you're playing and the specific ID. So imagine like the specific runner or corp. And the Dynasty deck contained pretty much your holdings, which was your gold, like was your mana. They were trying to like replicate like mana from Magic as a resource, like some kind of resource. And then all your personalities were in there. And then they had other things like events and regions. And then your other deck, the Fate deck, was like the hand of cards you held. And those were like your actions and your reactions. Those were like attachments you put on, like swords, armor, spells, and followers. So like soldiers, bodyguards, stuff like that you attach to the main characters. So you had the 2 decks there, and it was a similar thing. You had 4 provinces. You'd set up most decks at 4. And yeah, at the start of your turn, you'd flip your 4 over, you'd fire events, and you'd do your attacks and whatever, attach stuff, and then your Dynasty phase at the end, you'd bring in your personalities and holdings. That was the basic game, right? So
Yep. And it was like 3 of any card, 40-40 on your deck mins.
not originally 30-30.
That's right. It was originally 30-30, but they bumped it up.
They went up to 40-40, so they were 30 card decks up to 3 of a card. And then we played a legacy format. We went back to 30-30. We call it the dirty 30. But anyhow, but it became 40-40 was the standard for the longest time.
Yeah. So cool. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it played.
That's kind of the bare bones setup,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's similar now, right? The initial setup looks similar.
Yes, the initial setup. So you've got the same thing where it looks like there's 4 province spaces, but it does look like there's like a province because now you use province cards, and a province card attaches to your stronghold. You have the Dynasty deck still, but instead of Fate, they call it a conflict deck that you sit on the other side. What's interesting, if you notice, like the Dynasty phase was at the end of the original game's turn, and now in the new rules is at the beginning of the turn. It's the very first thing you do is bring out guys and then act with them.
But that makes sense with the fading mechanics we'll get to, right?
Correct.
So.
And it's a you go, I go. While in
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh.
Duel. All right. Anyway.
Are there duels in this, by the way?
I don't know if they've. I think they've mentioned it, right? But I don't know if I've seen any cards that trigger it.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, but it's now like a you go, I go, as opposed to like one player's turn. They do all their stuff, and then it flips over to the other player. So it seems to be a more like back and forth style to the card game.
Do you think that's going to be cleaner?
I do.
Or,
I mean,
or preferred?
I think in a lot of games across a lot of different styles, people tend to prefer alternating actions as opposed to the entire you take your whole turn and I don't get to respond until you're completely done doing everything you want to do and it goes back to me. Now, granted, in the old game, there were things like reactions and stuff like that you could trigger, but I think the back and forth style mechanic, I think Conquest was a good example as far as like the deployment and then combat actions. So it was some very nice decision making in the sense of, is this the best choice for me to go with, or if I go with him, if I go with this character, do I risk something happening to me? And it keeps both players engaged. I think that's a big thing too, is to make sure both players are able to kind of respond and interact in the game.
Yeah, it looks like in the chat said they confirmed in the Ask Me Anything about duels, but they didn't
Sweet.
get in.
They're in.
They
They're
didn't.
in.
Yeah, they didn't get into any exact mechanics of it. They
Oh, okay, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah, so in the old game, they had duels because that's a samurai thing. Like, the Westerns took after, right? Two guys facing off, one of them's going to kill the other. And the cool thing is, so your fate hand, the cards you're holding in your hand, all of them had a focus value at the bottom. So it was kind of the second usage. So you're like, this card is kind of shit, but it's got 4 focus. They went from 0 to 5.
Yeah, or
So
the focus card, which did nothing but was just a 5 focus value for duels.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, the way the duel worked is someone challenged another character, and the defender had the first opportunity to focus or strike. So basically, focusing was putting a card face down, and they could go back and forth until someone said strike, and then you flipped all the cards over, added their values to the character's chi. And the cool thing was when it was a tie, right? And both characters suffered the negative effect of the duel, which was usually death.
Yeah.
And there was a cool card in the game called Karmic Strike. It was a 0, but basically the only thing it did was, if this is played in a duel, it's automatically a tie.
Yeah.
What?
you had the focus, which was the 5, Karmic Strike, and then Bend Like a Reed. That was the reaction you could play after results were done to add 2 to your
Like
value.
After everything's flipped over. So the great thing is you do this stack, like everyone's stacking their whole hand into a duel, throwing it away. These cards are thrown away. And then you like Karmic Strike, and they're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you already say what the for the deck building mechanics of the old one, was there copy limits per what you could put in?
Yeah, 3 of a card.
Is that it's probably the same as this one going forward, I imagine. I don't think I've seen what they're saying, but I
don't
see
think
that
they've given specifics on it yet.
No, but
They had uniques. I think uniques are 1 per in the old game.
if you have to buy 3 core sets to get everything,
2.
They said 2, I thought.
2 to be competitive.
Yeah, they said 2 at Gamma, but in the big reveal article they put 3.
What is this? What is the 2 then? Or was that just a misprint?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been a misspoken, or maybe the intention was you only need 2 to build competitive decks, and then 3 if you want everything.
Define competitive. That I think they gave us some false hope there. We knew it was going to be a core thing. Like, FFG's not going to make as much off this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was just it's one of those. Yeah, when they announce a new game, I just assume I have to. But it messes you up sometimes because I go and they release a new board game and I'm walking to the counter with 3 of them in my hand. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? I don't need to buy 3 copies of this. I can put this
Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah. So yeah, man. But,
so I assume that's going to carry over in this one here.
Yeah. So do we want to run through the bold phases, or do you just want to point out some differences that we've seen?
Well, we talked about the anatomy, and I've got the article up here about the Stronghold, Destiny deck, Province cards, the Conflict.
Yeah.
Going into the continuing down here, we got the breakdown of a card.
Mm-hmm.
So what is looking at a castle? So is this the Stronghold here?
Yeah, are you on the
Crafting
main
a
reveal article?
crafting a dynasty.
You're looking at this Yojin no Shiro. That is a Lion Clan stronghold. You can see in the upper right of that. That's the Lion Clan symbol. So
Yeah.
that's like your stronghold. That's basically like their ID.
Yeah.
So has anything changed from these cards for good or for worse?
Yes.
Definitely.
So a big difference a big thing that's just different here is the fate mechanic is a different style of economy. The old game used holdings that you would bow for gold, and some holdings could bow to do other effects, but you would have gold production. And so your strongholds would bow to produce gold, and they worked as kind of like a bigger holding to buy cards and to play actions and stuff like that.
Or sometimes have bow abilities too.
Yeah. And so now it looks like they've done is they've still given like actions to the stronghold. They're now a strength modifier as opposed to a set strength value, which the old strongholds were. But the strongholds weren't like a target in the old game.
No.
They just dictated the strength of all of your provinces you had in the game.
Right.
In here, it looks like there's ways to adjust the strength of your provinces based on cards, and so there's a little more flexibility with deck building and stuff like that you can play around with. Starting honor is a similar thing that was listed on it, but that was it. It was gold production, strength, and starting honor, and then any special abilities the stronghold have. So now these new ones have starting honor, the fate production, and an influence value.
Influence,
So there's-
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Crazy.
don't know that. And the starting honor is higher, but that's because if you go to 0, you lose, right?
Correct. In the old game, it was negative 19.
20.
20, that's right. You
Negative
went
20.
below 19. Yeah.
And also because you're using honor as part of your hand bidding mechanic, so you need a higher starting honor in this.
Right. Right.
I do like that aspect. That's a cool mechanic. We can get to that.
Yeah.
The Hands of Fate. They even have it listed here.
Yeah.
Gamer's Hands of Fate.
Hands
you-
of Fates.
So this fate value, is this like they get that every turn?
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be just persistent economy every round. You gain this fate value.
But you
Which
need
is-
that, right, to keep characters in play.
Correct, because it's kind of like your currency for everything, I would assume. Like
So
playing
it's
cards,
replacing-
playing characters.
So to be clear, Fate 100% completely right. It's replacing gold. Gold is gone. Fate
Right.
is universal like currency in the game.
Right.
Correct.
Which is good because I guess, the problem with the old one, and I don't blame them, it was the 90s. They were mimicking Magic the Gathering. So they wanted a resource. The problem, just like Magic, though, you could have gotten gold starved or gold flooded like that game. And either way, it can lead to a loss just because of RNG, which no one likes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it's not dictating like you need to get these gold producing things to stay in the game, but you have a set value. Have they talked about whether it carries over from turn to turn, or
The
does
fate?
it clear? Yeah,
I don't know if that's noted. I'm not sure.
because that could be some interesting like economy dynamics if it stays, and then you can build up a pool for like bigger characters and stuff like that.
Well, that would make sense because I
Yeah.
assume like if it's like the old game where the old game you had your clan champions and that who's just some like big baller characters and you're not going to get them early. So in the old game, what sucked is you had to just discard them. They came up early,
Yeah.
and you're just not going to get them. Whereas here, if you can like, well, if I wait a turn, I can build towards it. Whereas in the old game, right, if you needed like 14 gold or something, you're like, that's never coming. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's see. But the cool thing they did too is it looks like the balance of that too, especially if you played multiple copies of a character, because it looks like you can have multiples of unique characters now. But if you flip them, you already have in play as an action, you can remove them to have them add a fate to their existing self already in play.
mm-hmm.
So there's a nice like incentive that you can get for playing with multiple copies, but you don't necessarily get screwed if you flip like 3 of the same guy and you're like, oh cool, I can only play one of these and I don't do anything with these other 2 cards. So there is a nice little economy swing.
is that only on uniques or on all characters?
It says in the thing that if you play a second copy with unique characters or a character with the same, however, play with the second copy in one of their provinces or in their hand, they may discard that copy to add 1 fate to the unique copy in play. So that's interesting because it said in your province or in your hand.
Oh, yeah, intriguing. Well,
Yeah.
like that's Nate French is one of the lead designers on this, right? And that's very much in his design. Look at Thrones, kind of the same
Yeah.
idea, which is good. Like, if you have this deck, did they say deck sizes in this?
I do not. I haven't seen it, or I don't recall it.
But especially in Thrones, you're talking a 60 card deck. If you draw a duplicate, it sucks. So at least it has like you can put it on as like a essentially a shield, a second copy.
Yeah.
So it's nice they have some use for a duplicate here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Pretty cool.
that's pretty much Thrones based, right? The dupes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not too bad. So it's cool. So it looks like, in the dynasty phase. So at the beginning of your turn, you're pretty much like flipping your cards, taking turns back and forth, playing and buying people. And when you bring out personalities, you then can invest more fate into them to put tokens on it to allow them to hang out longer. And that's a really cool mechanic to me, because that helps to me, I feel like that helps to solve the flood problem of this people just churning out really cheap characters, and then they just get, what is it, like the Hearthstone Murloc issue? They just Murloc you off the table, and then you're just like, cool, that's great. But now with like the limit, they can say, oh, they're not going to stay, or if you can see like, hey, if I can just weather the storm for this one turn, they're going to lose a bunch of their people, and then I can get back into this game. So I can build for like the long play and just try to put my feet in the dirt and hold my ground and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I thought was an issue with Game of Thrones. Like, if that other guy could get his board set up really quick and you couldn't find any clear mechanic, then there was no catch, or there was no built-in catch-up mechanic in that game, right? Like, we used to play over lunchtime, and you could tell by like turn 3 or 4 early, like, and this is back when it was just like a core and like one or the first or second expansion, but you knew, like, looking at the game, you're like, yep, you got it. And for the sake of playing in that lunch hour window, you're like, let's just start again, we don't need to finish this game out.
Yeah, scoop it.
Yeah, right.
Tywin Lannister, right? That you're like, that Tywin Lannister isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you would
it's
just be like, all right, I'm going to defend this challenge, Dracarys. All right, good game.
Yeah.
Let's just scoop this up.
Yeah, right. So it seems
Yeah.
it seems that that's being taken into account here.
No, yeah. Should we talk that mechanic? I like this mechanic. Like, did any of you play Magic with this mechanic? The fading mechanic?
I didn't.
So it was called fading in Magic, and it was very divisive, and some thought to be probably one of the worst aspects of the game ever. But that's kind of a different game, and I think I do like it here, because that was a problem in the old L5R, was just build up.
Board flood?
You just build and build and build, because there was a card called Rallying Cry.
Mandatory 3 of.
Yeah, after a combat. So normally you'd have a combat, you announce combat at all the provinces in the old game, okay? You resolve one at a time. After the attack at a province, the attacking characters are bowed and go home. But you would just bring everything to one. Play the Rallying Cry. After the battle, they come home unbowed. Now they can defend again. And you just do that one at a time if you're ahead, and just keep sending in your waves of guys with full defense coming back. Or it would lead to the state where both sides are building up like a Cold War. And I've seen this, games go to time, and it's like, this is going to be like a 20-minute final battle that's probably not going to resolve the game. It's just like, it led to just a convoluted board state, and this is going to get around it. And now, you mentioned the fate rolling over. That would make sense, because, like you said, if you want to bide your time, like, let's say the other person is flooding you. Like, imagine, like you said, in Hearthstone, but in 2 turns, that's all going to be gone. Well, you could wait and build up that stockpile, and I kind of like that.
And I think it gives an interesting dynamic between also like bringing out a big personality as opposed to cheaper personalities. So there could be interesting strategy. I'll bring out like 2 or 3 cheap characters, but I can get more people, but they may not hang out that long.
Like
if I save up, right? Or I bring out like a really strong character, but I invest in this character to stay on the table for a few turns to then anchor my next turn or going into there. So there's some really neat like trains of thought I could see this opening up with style in the game.
Yeah, and I think it forces you to make, to play the game, right? Like the scenario that you were describing there, Scott, it reminds me of some people who play Risk, and everyone just builds their army, and then it's like, when you're a kid, and then you're like, oh, sorry, I got to go home now, right? And nobody's done anything, right?
Right, exactly.
And a big thing in like old L5R, like battles were all or nothing. Like
Yes.
you found out who won, and then everything on the opposing side was dead.
That's why, the game morphed over time because they realized that was bad too. Yeah, so basically, at the end of a battle, you add all the unbowed strength of everything, and whoever won, the opposing side is wiped out. And I've had it where you have like 15 cards on a side, and you win by one strength, and you slaughter everything. That's basically a GG. But I think in this, like, I kind of like too. There's an opportunity cost of you build up. You want to get that badass clan champion out, and you put him out there for 5 turns. And then they're going to come up with some sneaky thing and kill that character, right? Like, kind of like in Thrones where they have, like, just like character kill and stuff. And you're like, wow, I'm glad I built up all that. Now, you don't want too much of that because that's going to upset people, right? They put all that investment into a character. But I'm sure it's in the game, right? Because Scorpion's like the ninja clan. They're all about murdering and killing people.
Yeah, it's got to be.
They do like to kill people. I think the only, like, it looks like there's one card like Assassinate, which is in the spoiler. But interesting thing, if you look at stuff like, I think Fallen in Battle was another one that they spoiled in the last article.
Okay.
It's a kill card, but you have to win by like a pretty considerable amount to be able to trigger it. So we'll see how they do some of the character kill, because I can definitely see that like frustrating somebody. They invest a bunch in like their clan champion, and then you're just like, oh, he's dead.
Colot Assassin.
Yeah, right. I'll Colot Assassin this guy.
Colot Master. Now, are the Colot in the game? I don't think we've seen anything.
I haven't seen any Colot stuff spoiled. So.
Which it makes sense. So the Colot, if you don't know, that's what our team was called back in the day. They were the secret society in L5R.
The Illuminati.
They were essentially the L5R Illuminati. They were the behind the scenes. They were like infiltrated every clan. They were at the high. They had from the peasants up to the emperor. They had people. Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, so it'd be neat to see what like pops up, what they do with that. So that mechanic is just really cool to me. And another thing it also kind of helps with too, and we'll probably talk about this when we go to some of the conflict. But another thing happened in the game. Of course, you lose the province. In the old game, your province was gone, so you were no longer generating as much stuff as your opponent, and that also helped to like speed up board flood, because then you're in a situation where it's like, oh, I'm only getting 3 new cards every turn, my opponent's getting 4, and they can just keep churning their guys out, and eventually they're going to win this war of attrition and just outpace and grind me down. But it seems like there's been some nice changes in the new rules just to address those issues, and that's
that snowballing was ridiculous.
Yeah,
because you're talking, you lose one province, you've lost 25% of your production.
Yeah, welcome to playing against the Unicorn. Or they would just, you'd have that phase where be like, all right, I'm declaring an attack. Assign your defenders.
Yes.
You'd look over and you'd be like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So in the old game, infantry assigned first, and then the cavalry assigned, and the whole the Unicorn's whole thing was they were all cavalry, so they would just go where you weren't and snipe 2 of your provinces early, and then just build up because they're like doubling you on production for the rest of the game. And it was a good trick. Do you remember? Did you play under Spirit, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, the average was 4 provinces. They had this like weirdo expansion where Spirit Wars, it was called, where basically this portal to the afterlife opened up, and all these like old like ghosts came out, these heroes, and formed their own armies and started attacking. Like, he's like, the Ghost Emperor came back. He's like, I'm the Emperor. What are you doing on my throne? And, so the crazy thing is, imagine the average province strength was like 6. Theirs was 0. But instead of 4 provinces, they got 6. So they have like 50% more production than everyone. And people built this like corrupt deck out of it and just blitzed out of it. And it was crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That was a heroic year. My friend won Origins that year with Monkey dueling over Corrupt Spirit. It was like the most. That's everyone was like cheering for him. There was a storyline when everyone loved.
Yeah, my one of my friends still has. He has like a collection of probably like 150 Toku cards. Yeah, like his original one, and he's like. He was all joking about Gen Con last year during the announcement, or if he goes this year, just going and just like dropping Toku cards all around Gen Con. and just hide him in like random places, just him popping up. Sorry, Jameson Hollis, you guys have no idea.
No, sorry. Yeah, basically, so like in the original game, there were all these named characters, and people associated with them. Like that's my friend basically was like, that's Toku, that's my dude, and like so one dude like so everyone like it's like people use as avatars now certain cards from Netrunner, but imagine there were enough that's just like I'm that's my dude. I'm associating with that character, and yeah, it was fun. And Toku was one of those. So yeah, here's the thing: Toku was like the lowliest character. In the original base set, he was 0 cost. He was like a 0-1 or 0-2. Right?
Yeah, he had like no force. He was just a free, unaligned guy you could bring out.
He was honestly a joke. He was the
like
in Hearthstone. What's the most garbage card? Like the Wisp.
The Wisp.
Yeah. Seriously, yeah. But he had such
Summon
a
3/1/1
fanatical
wisps.
player base behind him that he ended up getting experience versions to where he ended up becoming the clan champion of the Monkey Clan, getting like his own clan.
Well, like what's her name? Like in Lord of the Rings, when Éowyn kills the leader of the Nazgul, what's his name? The
Witch King.
The Witch King. That's what Toku and Toku eventually. This lowly character eventually got to the point where he performed so many heroic deeds. He was granted his own house. Like he became a lord, and then he created the Monkey Clan. That was his clan. He started.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
And that was because the storyline, like players,
right?
Yeah,
like pushed that to happen.
I mean, I think the story team liked him a lot too. Like, who doesn't like the palace lad to king storyline, right? That's the classic tale of a hero. But yeah, the players pushed that, don't you think, Corey, quite a bit?
Yeah, it was, because it was this one. It was one of those characters like nobody hated, right? It was like the one guy that like no one said anything bad about him. It'd just be like, F that one clan champion, but that Toku guy, he's all right.
Yeah,
he's okay.
He's the guy who like left his farming village. Like, I'm picking up a rusty sword. I'm following this Ronin army, and I'm gonna see what happens. And
yeah,
it was good.
So we got we're all set up here. We've got the provinces out, the strongholds out. Now
you take turns bringing stuff out.
Now there's a new mechanic in this game, right?
The draw phase.
Yeah.
That we have yet to see before. And maybe this is where, Scott, you were talking about maybe get some custom little spinners here.
Sweet spinners. When we did a lot of Conquest, because you do the same thing with like a dial that you would select where your lord goes, he would purposely get his to where they'd make squeaks, and he would call it the Intimidator. And he would just sit there and squeak the Intimidator while he's deciding what his selection is. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's someone at the like, Christian T. Peterson's brother-in-law owns a dial factory. I'm pretty sure. Because, like, how many games have dials of theirs, right? It's ridiculous.
It's standard. It's trademark.
Oh, yeah. Even the old school, right? Like Battlestar Galactica, like the dial's got to be on the boards.
Board games, all over, man. Yeah. XCOM, I think, has them all over.
Chaos in the Old World, big dials on the board. But
so what are we doing here when we're playing this Psy game 2.0?
Right. So the idea is once you're done bringing out all your guys, you then will bid honor to kind of say, this is how many cards I would like to draw during the draw phase, and you can do a number 1 through 5. You both secretly pick. You reveal. The number on your dial is how many cards you draw, but if a player has bid more than another player, they give the difference of their bid in honor to the other player. And I guess it's going to be representing of, taking dishonorable actions in order to gain an advantage, or, not staying nice and calm and political in court, or different things the other clans do to kind of like sway favor or honor during like that phase. Almost can consider it like a court meetup or something like that, like its own little winter court, hanging out and chatting. So, but it's pretty cool because it definitely seems like, so now you have this dial, which is another component that clans can play around with and cards can adjust and deal with. And that's pretty neat, because especially because you can lose the game off honor. So it does kind of keep you in check of just being like 5, 5, 5, and your opponent's just like 1, I'll take 4, 1, I'll take 4, thanks. So you have to be smart about what you pick and how many cards you draw.
Mm-hmm. And what if it's a tie?
then no one passes any honor to anybody else. You just draw cards.
Hollis,
Yeah.
your thoughts?
It's a
You've been pretty quiet. What's your thoughts
Well,
on this
so-
bidding mechanic thing here?
So obviously, I didn't play the old game, but the opinion seems to be when I've talked about it to other players is that it's sort of other possible play, like people that will get into the game. It seems like to be a fairly good balance of how to handle like how do I gain honor and like sort of match that up against a sort of a catch up mechanic. I think that old L5R, of course, as Spags and Corey have made clear, when you've destroyed a Providence, you've effectively eliminated resources from the opposing player. And so, me personally, when I watched the AEG, like, learn to play the game, they they sort of had like, you want to gain this amount of gold, and because you gain this amount of gold, you can buy all 4 things that are available for your strongholds, or providences, excuse me. And it was like province, excuse me,
Province.
sorry, provinces. Yeah. And it's like, all right, so but I lost one. So even if I gain 13 gold, if I only have 8 gold worth of things to buy, and you have an actual 12 gold worth of things to buy, I'm behind material. It's irrelevant. Like I start off every turn behind. This mechanic is unique because not only have they balanced that system in a way, but they've also now said, okay, if I want to gain this honor immediately, like for me to gain honor to help getting me towards the end of the game, now I'm giving you cards so that you're able to say, well, you won the last one, but I think I got you this time. And I kind of like that. It ensures that every single combat that occurs at each of those battle phases has this sort of like back and forth. In fact, so much so to where I think it's possible you could, because of the inherent mechanics there, you could end up in a scenario where it's like, all right, well, I won this one, and now you're going to win the next one, and then I will win the next one, and you're going to win the next one. So like any good like battle you would see like in a movie, right? It sucks when you have just the one guy's like beating the other guy, and that's it, and that's all that happens. What you really want to see is you want to see, like, for enjoyment, for entertainment, you want to see the one guy do really good, and then the other guy beat the crap out of him, and then that guy gets his second win, the Inigo Montoya moment, where it's the my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die, and there's this comeback back and forth. Like that is what's entertaining. That's what builds this excitement. It's sort of like when you watch Netrunner, right? If someone just like says run R&D, score, run R&D, score, run R&D, score, you're like, all right, well, GG, you're really skilled. That's not as that's a part of the game, but that's not as entertaining to watch. And I like the fact that the game has this sort of mechanic in it to prevent that and kind of balance it out, so it's even a more entertaining game, I think, to watch being played. And that's a really big deal. Like I feel like in all the games I enjoy watch being played, like Netrunner and like Magic, like the best games I enjoy watching are the ones where there's this sort of back and forth. You don't know really who's winning until you get to a certain point in the game, and then you're like, okay, this guy has the upper hand. And I like it. I think it's actually really interesting. It also, Corey talked about this off the stream, but like a week ago. But there's this sort of weird thing that happens where it's like, how much honor do you have? Like, can you really afford to like bet like honor here? Because I don't think you can.
Yeah,
like,
it seems like you could
bet honor, but
it seems an interesting mechanic too. Like if you can follow, like, so say you go like a turn or two in the game, and your opponent has like a really good phase where they're just playing a ton of cards. They're down just a couple cards. Then you're just like, oh, cool. They're probably more likely to try to get a lot of cards back because their hand's empty and mine's nice and filled up. So I could see if I could just bid low and just bank on stealing a bunch of honor from them if they're trying to refresh their hand. You can get some nice like lock type situations where you can kind of prevent them. It's like another resource you can kind of choke out of them to keep them from just like getting a bunch of card draw.
But I think you're gonna maybe hear some comparison to the other bidding in different games where like Netrunner, but I think this is a little more controlled.
Yeah.
Right, and the outcome is not so devastating. It's not like I'm going to go in. If I win this side game, I win the game, kind of thing. This is you've either put yourself in this weird situation where I have to risk it and draw up and bid a lot, or you're going to play a little more casual and conservative, and kind of stay the course, right? Or you're going to be the guy that's like, I'm always just going to try and screw you over to steal your honor if you're playing for that win condition, right?
And yeah, and like, granted, I think it might be a little too early to sort of to know for sure, but a weird thing happens in like games like this where I think there's a room to argue. For example, if I'm getting crushed, it might even be fine, and maybe Corey or Spags can elaborate more, but it might be fine to say, I'm going to give you this honor early. I'm going to bid 0, and I'm going to
0, 1, 1.
You have to bid at least
sorry.
one.
Sorry, I'm gonna bid 1 to ensure that I have like an amazing card advantage, and as a result, there's no way, based on the mere fact that I just outnumber the amount of cards you have to play versus what I have, prevent me from like losing the next conflicts. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Not that that's necessarily gonna be always the right call, but I feel like there's gonna be scenarios where you will have to say, I will absolutely give up all this honor just to get the card advantage, because I know that once I get the card advantage, there's no and like, I think also you can expect certain factions to say like when you play XYZ cards, draw a card. When you engage in this conflict, draw cards. Especially when you look at inherently the faction is it Unicorn that's doing a lot of dishonor. It's like
Scorpion.
Sorry, what?
Scorpion.
I'm sorry. Yeah, like it's like where they're generating dishonor and like for like political conflicts, and it's like, all right, well, so you discard cards from your hand. So giving you honor is fine if I'm going to be discarding cards from your hand and drawing cards. Like the advantage there is like calculated differently versus just straight gaining honor.
Yeah, and to set up other plays, right? Like I have the blackmail card on screen.
Sorry, not Netrunner Blackmail.
Yeah. It's undetermined if this is more OP or less. But
MWL1 in this.
Yeah.
Right, but you can see that there's cards like this that play only if you are less honorable than your opponent. Now that bidding mechanic is a way for you to set yourself up to play these cards, right? So
it's cool.
So I'm looking at a character. Is that honor they gain, that little symbol in the lower right of their art? Is that do you gain honor from bringing characters in anymore?
No, I don't believe so. I haven't seen anything mentioned.
So what is that? So you have the fate cost, you have military strength.
Oh, and that's the glory. That little number to the right.
Glory. Got it.
Yeah, that's the glory value. And
that game is so complex, but in that regard.
Yeah, so now, and the glory is impacted by whether the personality is honored or dishonored, and we also learned that the glory also has an impact on who gets the Imperial Favor.
The favor, right.
Yeah. So, cool. So anyway, so that's the draw phase. That's so that's pretty cool. Some nice little bidding mechanics there to get cards. And then once you guys fill up, you get your cards, you load up, you go to the conflict phase. There's a lot to the conflict phase, and we don't want to go into you could spend a lot of time talking about it because there's some really nice interaction in there. But some really big changes of this is now the conflicts are alternating back and forth, and you're allowed to get multiple conflicts. And there's some nice play with this is where the rings come into play in this version of L5R. In the old game, the rings were cards. You would play, and they would have triggers that would allow you to play them. And some were almost like impossible to get into play unless you cheated it with finding the harmonies. And then some were like almost every deck, like Ring of Void. But anyway. But now the rings are actually kind of like tokens, it looks like, or cards, whatever shits they're going to use to represent them. And each ring has dice. each ring has a different special effect if you select it, battle with it, and win with that ring. It triggers a different unique ability. And the cool thing is when you declare your conflict, you pick a ring, and you pick whether you're doing your conflict as a political or a military challenge. Pick the province you're attacking, and then assign your attacking army. So just with these aspects right here, now you've got some really cool variety with the type of effects you can trigger with the rings, whether you're battling militarily or politically, which is something that they didn't really have in the old game that much. pretty much kind of everything was military, and a lot of your tricky political characters just had special abilities that like interacted by like keeping characters out, moving characters out of the battle,
Dueling.
stuff like that, right? But now like your political strength is actually like a stat you could use to like do combats and stuff. So that's really neat. That's a neat way to kind of have those characters kind of stand out a little bit more and not be so much like background characters.
And so in this conflict phase, what is bow?
So turning the card 90 degrees.
Is that's tapping or exhausting?
Stop.
Tapping.
No.
Tian,
Next name.
man.
Next name. We're going to need you to edit that part out.
Yeah.
It's not tapping. It's not
Luckily,
tapping.
he's
It's not
north
tapping.
of the border. He's safe,
Yeah.
right? Extradition.
Yeah.
Thanks for the pass.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have this, and then I turn it this way.
Yeah, or you could go the other way, 45 degrees.
Okay,
You know,
so
it's
this
fine.
way or
Clockwise. There
There
you
you
go.
go. Yeah,
Yes,
there you
that's
go.
correct.
You got it. Nicely done. Good form. Yeah.
Okay.
But so some of the things that they've talked about is each player gets up to 2 conflicts each round, 1 political, 1 military. And then, of course, it has the same thing where like people involved in the conflicts are bowed. So there's some interesting play, right? Because you'll have, and it also looks like that when a ring is chosen and it's fought for, it is no longer an option for that conflict phase. So there's so much like things to think about in the sense of what conflict do I do first? Do I try to do like a lighter conflict to exhaust my opponent's defenders to then send something later? Do I go for the best ring in my situation, or do I pick a ring to deny a really strong ability for my opponent? There's a lot of neat things to think about and manipulate and play with in this phase. So this definitely seems like it has a lot more to it. And one thing that I've noticed is, again, like you go through, you combat, you fight in a province, you'll play all your cards, compare strength, and then if you beat the strength of the opposing as a defending army and equal or beat the strength of the province, you win the conflict, claim the ring ability, and destroy the opposing province. But you don't kill everybody, right?
Oh.
So this is cool, right? In the sense of like you don't have that like you mentioned earlier, where like everyone's dead. I win the game. GG. You can scoop. It hasn't mentioned. It looks like that there's card abilities that'll let you trigger and kill people, like Fallen in Battle, but it doesn't seem like it just insta kills everybody on the other side. And when provinces are destroyed, they're just flipped 180 degrees, and they still produce cards. And that's also like a huge win in the sense because that was a big issue with the old game, as you mentioned. Like you snipe provinces early, you've essentially like arrowed to the knee your opponent, and you just kind of wait it out at that point till you win by attrition, or you just mass out so much stuff they can't stop you. So there's a lot of stuff in this phase.
This is the meat and potatoes of the game.
Yeah,
right?
correct. This is where like a lot of your action, like all the action is going to happen in this phase. But I really like the changes and stuff they've made to it. It seems like there's a one with just the back and forth of like I do a challenge, you do a challenge. That kind of has almost that like Game of Thrones-y type, right. Like my intrigue challenge or your military challenge. So that was like that's a pretty cool like mechanic. But I feel like this game is not going to get to like you get these hordes of characters like Thrones ended up having, to where it was so hard to kind of analyze what was going on the board, since it seems like you kind of keep to like a tight-knit like handful of characters that you're working with at a time.
So it seems like a more complex Thrones, though, with all the options. But I was going to ask, when you declare, so if you have initiative, you declare the first challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pick that ring. Is that off the board for your opponent then? Is that what you meant by denial? So only one person can do a water challenge a turn?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Because it seems like if you win it, right? If you win the conflict, you claim that ring. And if your opponent, I think they mentioned, I think if like the defender wins, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't trigger the ability or anything. It's just
they get it for the favor.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, because that's how you tally up for favor claim and everything like that, is whoever's claimed the most rings.
And then they're replenished at the end?
Yeah, they're replenished at the I think it's the regroup phase or the fate phase. It's one of the end ones. So a neat thing, right? So obviously you have 5 rings. You're going to do up to 4 conflicts. A ring's not going to get chosen each round, at least one. In one of the later phases in the game, that ring collects fate, which is an incentive for you in a future turn. If you pick that ring, you also gain this fate.
Very board gamey.
Yes, very board gamey. But now, 2 turns into this game, right? There's a ring that's been chilling, gaining some economy. Now you get to the position of, do I take the best ring for what I'm doing right now? The ring that I really want? Do I deny a ring to my opponent? Or do I take this, maybe not as important to my strategy ring, but it's a nice economy swing to allow me to play other cards and do other stuff? So now there's some more things to think about. And since as we've kind of seen the way different cards interact with these mechanics, it looks like that there's also a clan that plays around with this fate on rings, which is awesome. Because again, all these different components are things that cards can interact with. So there's a lot of depth, it seems like, that they've kind of built into this.
Well, Corey, one person's depth is another person's analysis paralysis. That's my concern here. Is that
hey, we're not
like,
playing 5 tribes here, right?
Because I
different
briefly played Game of Thrones, and to me that doesn't seem like that complex of a game. I'm like, how does this go 60 minutes? Because people do this. I'm like, you have 3 cards in your hand, you have 3 characters on the board. What the hell is the problem? Am I used to Netrunner? We're just a more evolved species here? I'm like, so I see this and I'm just like instantly concerned, right? That's my, I don't know.
I wonder what the learning curve is going to be for this, Scott. Like, I was thinking about that too, right? Like, can you imagine how, well, think back to the very first Netrunner tournament you went to and the learning curve there. Yeah. but about the player pace of the game, right? Like, I think almost every game was going to time, or I've seen some people time out and there was more timed wins. Now it doesn't really happen like that, right? So
I do see, like, the way that the fate mechanic works, it does keep your in play card pool.
I remember one of
a little bit.
My first
yeah, suspense. I think it might have cut out. I was just like, dramatic pause for story. No, you may just have to like refresh ends bags. Yeah, man, he's telling this great story. Yeah, when he comes back, we should all just look like we're all excited and we're like, man, that's the best ending to the story. And Hollis's mic is muted and he's talking like we can hear him.
Sorry. I hope when he comes back, he like gives the punchline, and we have no idea what's going on. And so we're like, whoa, that's insane. And we're like, yeah, we have no idea what he said though. We have no idea.
You think I should boot him and then get him back in?
For sure.
Probably.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
God, the Steve Brule like screens. Gosh.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, but anyway, and he'll chime in whenever he gets back. But that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the conflict phase. There's other things, and I'll save the favor stuff whenever he gets back, because I don't want to, he's going to want to talk about that. but it's cool because I see the analysis paralysis argument, but I feel like that the limit to the amount of stuff you get on the table helps keep that in check a little bit. And I think it seems like a lot of options, but I feel like in gameplay there'll be like a couple pretty solid lines of play that'll make it pretty easy to understand. Yeah,
I think it's nice that they're progressing to a card game that actually has the depth like this, right? Or
well,
maybe it just seems like that. Maybe it just seems like that because it's new, right? So
right, but the cool thing is, right? Like, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of card play here. There's a lot of stuff to manipulate, and if we go a little later, you'll kind of see these like cool little like niches that all the clans are kind of playing around with. And it seems like if there is a mechanic in this game that you think is super cool, there is probably a clan in this game that is like their wheelhouse. They show up to try to dominate that mechanic or fire all their cool abilities off of this mechanic. And if that's something you really love, man, check that clan out because it'll probably be for you.
Yeah, but like Scott said, I don't. I'm interested to see if this is going to be a a brain buster of a turn for some people.
Look, nothing's gonna be Decipher Star Wars, or what is it like? Decipher's Lord of the Rings, that old Lord of the Rings game. Anyone ever remembers that? Look, those are what a brain burner card game is. You're just
Right.
like, I don't know what's going on, but whatever.
Or if things just get out of control with a card pool that there's so many interactions and the turns are so big and this interacts with this and this does this, and like if there's just so much going on that it's like overly complex. But
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so hey, Spags, do you want to try telling that story again before everything bombed out on you?
Sorry, I don't know. I had some connection issue apparently. What story was I telling? I don't even remember.
It was something about analysis paralysis.
or like
And then
long
we were
term
talking
play.
about like, yeah, no,
I don't remember.
okay.
Oh, I
Oh.
think we were talking about early Netrunner. I was going to
Yeah.
say real
Yeah.
quick. My first regional back when they were basically store champs, but it was like 30-some people in Chicago, 2013. Guy, remember the thing at the time? Noise Personal Workshop?
Yeah.
Except the cat didn't know how to work it. Remember, we have to play 2 games of Netrunner. We're like 40 minutes in. Score is like 2-0, and this guy's like, click 1. I'll put a parasite on the personal workshop. I'm like, okay. Looking at the clock. Click 2. I'm gonna put a data sucker on the personal workshop. I'm like, dude, you gotta pick this shit up.
I had those exact experiences myself.
And that's what I'm worried about here. Like, I'm gonna do a political. No. Wait. I'm gonna do military.
Yeah. But hey, man, you should only have to play one game. Only one game. It's not like Netrunner where you gotta switch sides, right? You're just playing one game of L5R.
Okay, true.
Wow.
True. I mean,
I'm a little worried because the rings add another level of decision making that could be problematic. We'll
hey,
see.
man, you gotta have them rings though. Them rings.
Yeah, without it.
It's kind of neat how they
Yeah.
incorporate them because the old game was Legend of the Five Rings, but most decks didn't even have one ring in them.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and something else to throw in that I don't think we mentioned. So, in the old game, you could win the game through honor victory, which was begin a turn with more than 40 or more honor. You could dishonor your opponent, which is you get them immediately to -20 or lower. Military, where you destroy all your opponent's provinces, or enlightenment. And enlightenment was like immediate win. If you got all 5 rings in play, you immediately won the game. I think the only deck I ever saw in the game that did enlightenment consistently was like the Finding the Harmonies, like Phoenix or Monk build.
Master of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, that just cheated rings in the play. 'Cause there's a card that lets you just ignore the trigger. Because all the rings had these like specific conditions you had to do in order to be able to play them.
But there was a monk deck that started with a ring in play, so that made it a lot easier.
Yeah. So that was cool. But so in the new game, it looks like they've mentioned honor. You can win and lose by honor, and then military, but they haven't mentioned anything about enlightenment. But it looks to see that since the rings are now like permanent, kind of manipulating portions of the game, that they may not do an enlightenment style victory. It may just be now just a thing that everyone can play with, and you toss back and forth during your challenges.
You know, my thought on enlightenment was like what people were maybe hoping with Bad Publicity, not you guys, in Netrunner, like the thought that like if you remember, like if you play a card that's like if the corp added like cards that add new win conditions, like if the corp has 10 bad publicity, you win the game or something ridiculous. I'm wondering if they have something like that. Enlightenment won't be a rule, but it'll be on maybe a card, like play this card, and you know, I don't know what it would do.
No, that's really cool. Like if there's some way you could figure out how to do like a 5th challenge, or you control like all 4, like you win all 4 conflicts and collect 4 rings, and then I don't know. But yeah, you're right. There probably could be some neat like condition card that you can play if you collect all of them. Collect them all. Win the game. So, I got all the rings. Here's my Infinity Gauntlet. I won the game.
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, when is that coming? That Infinity thing. They've been building that up for about 12 years now, right?
Yeah, probably about another 30.
Good guys.
So after conflict, are we going to fate now?
Yes, you go in the fate phase. So the fate phase, let me pull this one up here. Heyo. So the fate phase, da-da-da. So this is where you're going. So the biggest thing is the Imperial Favor. That's the first part of the fate phase. So this is another difference from the old school of L5R.
Yeah,
So
what is an Imperial Favor?
Yeah, hey, I'm glad you asked. So in old school Legend of the Five Rings, the Imperial Favor was this object you could lobby for and take. They gave you different actions. It could send people home, it could re-honor personalities, it could negate an honor loss, and then there were other cards that you could discard the favor to trigger their abilities. But in order to claim the favor, you had to initially, just to take it without any challenge, had to have the most honor, and you just bowed a guy and took it. You could have lower honor to the lobby for the favor, but then you did like a back and forth, like adding to your honor thing that I never really saw a lot in the game. It was usually like the person with highest honor just took it and that was it.
Sometimes as a military, if you were close, you would try and steal it from them so they
That's
wouldn't
right.
send you home occasionally.
So now it looks like in the new game, the way it works is when you get to the fate phase, you're going to count up how many rings you've collected and then add up how much glory is on your still standing personalities. And the person with the highest claims the favor. And when you claim the favor, you pick either military or political, and it's a permanent +1 to all of your challenges the next round that theme around that conflict type.
Wow.
It's like a tiebreaker.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty sweet. So
You're currying the favor of the Emperor, story-wise, Jameson. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Looking for
Yeah.
the story reason?
yeah, man.
So in the old game, you bowed a personality, you sent someone to court, basically like saying, we're the most righteous clan. Like, give us, this piece of paper that says you're cool with us. And this one is more based around how you do in combats, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the first part of the fate phase. And then the other thing you'll do is any personalities you have in play that don't have any, and then all your other personalities have a fate token removed from them. So there's like the degradation of your standing people. For the winds of fate, wisp them away to go do something else. They have some other village to save, or some personal vendetta they have to go avenge.
Or they die.
Correct, or they die.
And then some cards
there
even
was-
interact with this fate, a specialty found in the Dragon Clan.
Yeah. What?
What?
Are you reading
Yes.
from the website here?
I know. God, jeez. There was a throw in chat that we left out provinces in the conflict phase, so I'm just going to roll us back real quick.
Okay.
A change that they do have is you now have province cards. So there is like a province deck, it looks like you'll build, and they're assigned face down, and one's even assigned to your stronghold. And the province cards have different abilities when they're flipped and revealed, or they'll have like persistent actions they can do in combat, and they have their own strength. So in the old game where your provinces all were fixed and kind of their only special ability was really just if you had a special ability on your stronghold, now you can have different provinces representing different regions of your lands that are being invaded and attacked, and with variable strengths and modifiers and things like that. So that's pretty cool. So that's just kind of like a quick rundown of provinces. There's some more depth in there we can go in, but I don't want to leave those cards out because that looks to be a different thing that you'll build and set up for your deck.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, hey, you're very welcome. That was for you.
I mean, you're doing this for the, L5R layman's the most, right? So
yeah. Hey, man, trying to help out. So, but that's everything in the fate phase.
yeah.
And then after the fate phase,
Then
you
we
go to-
reprieve.
Yeah, you reprieve where you regroup. You get to the regroup phase, which is where you'll, if any destroyed provinces, your opponent can clear stuff out. If you kept face-up cards there, you'll unbow everything. And then you can also, I think, clear out dynasty cards that you don't want to. So if you had someone that you left up that you thought, hey, I'll bring them out later, and then the board state changed, and you're like, nope, forget this guy. He's not going to help me. You can pitch them and then refill them to have a new dynasty card going into the next turn. And then you restart the turn and you pass the first player marker to the other player.
And the cycle continues.
And the cycle continues.
Wu-Tang.
they ain't nothing to mess with.
No.
Yeah,
No.
so-
They're going to be the
so
first clan
keep
in
it
the
clean.
big box.
That's yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Anyway, so that's like again, there's a lot of little intricacies kind of built in there. But I think like some immediate takeaways is it does seem like that a lot of the issues and problems with the old game, FFG has come up with their kind of own spin and ideas on how they feel like they can resolve these issues and make it a little cleaner and prevent the snowballing aspect or the board flood aspect. And also have like that interactivity back and forth with the players a bit more. Any other thoughts off of that, Spags? Anything that you see that like jumps out from the rules? Anything immediately that you really like, and then a mechanic that you're kind of like hazy on?
No, there's a lot of interesting stuff. It feels like it's quite a different game. Like the base tenet of 4 provinces, 2 decks, and a stronghold is there, and the rest of it is pretty brand new. It feels like.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
I think so. I haven't played the game in quite a while, but I think it's good to refresh it. I think the game, you didn't want to keep playing it the way it was.
I know, because you're looking at 1995. So
right, it had a 20-year run. That's pretty awesome for a non-Magic card game, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
And a CCG at that. So I felt like, it's good to refresh it, and I like what they've done with it. We'll see how it goes, though.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the phases of new L5R.
Hollis, anything jump out at you there?
Mainly, we talked about this before we started recording, but it's mainly just that they differentiate now. They've removed gold entirely. Everything is fate. So there's a sort of universal economy. It basically, the universal economy existed in old O5R, but they've enhanced it in a way that it's now pay extra money to allow personalities to live longer, which can change the game entirely. Like I was actually discussing this with the local player here, and we were talking about L5R and how the pay into a personality mechanic might significantly affect the way the game is played, only because it's sort of hard. Like you play a really good character, right? And you're like, all right, so they come in with like 2 fate or what have you. Well, I'm going to pay 3 extra fate, so this guy lives 3 turns longer than it's supposed to. So, turn 2, it's whatever. It's not really super relevant. Turn 3, not super relevant that you have paid extra fate. Turn 4, okay, now when everyone has cards in play, this is pretty fucking super relevant that everyone has extra fate. This card is still in play because you've now paid this extra cost. Excuse me.
But I would say to look into that too. So you kind of mentioned, right, putting 2 fate on a character. House is dying.
Apparently.
But look at like on the spoiled cards, right? It looks like your average cost is looking to be around 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we looked at that stronghold, the Lion Stronghold's giving you 7 fate a turn. So if you brought out 2 of those 2 cost characters, and then you invested just 1 extra fate in each of those, you only have 1 fate to spare. So it seems like it's going to make a very tight economy, and you're going to have to choose on which characters are important enough for you to keep and which ones are just going to be like, hey, you're just here for this round. See if you make an impact, do something, make your family proud, and see what happens. And then, so because it does look like, there's some pretty tight economy there.
Yeah.
So where are we all going? Crab?
No. What? Hello?
Yeah. Do we have time to do a quick clan rundown, or do you want to save that for another episode?
It depends depends what you mean by quick. We can round it if you can finish it in this whole episode in 10 minutes.
I mean, I think all I want to do is just run through the clans real quick and just kind of their base mechanic. It looks like they're doing.
Yeah.
Does everyone feel like we could do that, or should we
Do it. Do it.
Okay, we'll do it. All right, cool. So we'll
Alphabetical crab.
All right, cool. You can just name the listing.
Crab.
So, Crab Clan. We'll start with the Crab Clan. Defenders of the Wall. So from what it looks like that's spoiled, I mean, and what they've kind of said in the article, Crab might be a clan for you if you like the defensive play style and reacting to what your opponents do. And it also looks like that they play around with holdings, which is a card we didn't really talk a whole lot about earlier. But holdings are a type of card that attaches to your province, and it generates like a persistent ability. And then looks like some of them also like will buff that province strength, but they hold that space, so that province is no longer generating anything new. So there's like a value whether this is worthwhile. But crabs are like the builders, right? That's what they were like thematically. So
Okay,
it seems like
pass,
they really
pass
like
on crab.
All right, Jameis is not feeling the crab. He's not
No,
feeling the
no.
crab.
What else you
Yeah.
got for me?
Sorry,
What's
all you
that
crab.
the new Matt Damon film, The Great Wall? That's the Crab Clan. They're essentially defending. I'm like, that's L5R the movie, right?
But you do get Hida Kasada, and Hida Kasada is one of the biggest BAs in all of Rokugan.
Yeah,
So
Oh, so
Don't-
okay, we'll move it to
Carries a
the
giant Tetsubo.
yeah, smash his face.
tentative.
All right.
We're
Now, so
tentative
that's
on
crab.
that. We're tentative on
Crane.
crab.
So Crane, my knowledge, big political faction. They also typically have the best duelist in Rokugan. Also some of the best artisans.
And
So
they're
they love-
pretty.
Yeah, they're pretty. Lots of white hair. I love that white hair. So it seems like if there's going to be a faction that jives off dueling and is really good at it, that's going to be the Crane Clan. Probably going to be good at gaining honor, since that was their thing all in Alphavar. They were a huge honor running clan. And I'm going to take a guess that they have a lot of manipulation. So if you play blue control decks, you might enjoy Crane, but we'll see what pops up. We'll see what happens. It seems like honor is going to be a big thing for them, because they did
anybody
mention
going
that they're
there?
not really. They did mention they're not really big militarily, except for like really strong duelists and characters that are there just to kind of like stall and hold people off while the political side builds up.
Did anyone else have opinion on crab? Before
No.
are we passing on crab
I
altogether?
like crab.
Oh,
I
Scott's in
like-
on crab.
I like it when it's mixed with like avocado and
What about crane? Are we? How did we do on crane? Passing, keeping,
So
tentative.
when they removed my Path of Shadow from L5R, I played a lot of Crane after that. But I was a big Doji Kwanan fan, and I liked a lot of the Daidoji family, so I played more of the military Crane. I like Crane scout decks and stuff like that. So that's an aspect of that clan that I enjoy. I do not feel like I will be a Crane player, though, in the new edition.
What
That's gonna
about
be my stuff.
dragon? Enter the
Is that
dragon.
the next one alphabetically?
Yeah.
Are you
It's
saying it?
alphabetical.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, please. So what we've seen so far, so Dragon, I guess, in the story are kind of like the monks. They kind of keep themselves in their temples.
Yeah, there's a couple over here.
Yeah. But what they've shown, what we've seen so far in the spoilers, is they are a clan that manipulates and plays around with fate on unclaimed rings.
ooh.
Yeah. But that does mean, so it looks like there's a person who can like move their fate to rings, and the person can then move it around. But it does seem like that some of those abilities have like a build up, right? Because it doesn't seem like something you can do a whole lot turn one. But as the game goes on, their abilities become more and more relevant, so they might be more of like a late game style. But that's cool, right? That's a cool thing that they get to manipulate and they play with is fate on unclaimed rings. That's really about all that I think they've spoiled for Dragon, right? I haven't seen a whole lot past that. So in the old game, they had the cool stuff like the tattooed monks, where the tattoos actually gave them like magical, really cool abilities like breathing fire and flying. And then they had Hitomi, which is pretty sweet. So we'll see. We'll see what pans out for the old Dragon Clan.
Yeah, that might be that might be in the maybe pile right there.
Yeah, the Miramoto, who are like the dual sword wielders, were really cool. So
They're one of the strangest clans. They're pretty enigmatic.
yeah, a big thing is in the old rules, Dragon were very much jack of all trades but master of none. That was kind of their thing. They didn't specialize in any one aspect of the game, but they could play in like all the arenas.
Well, my Scottish heritage is drawing me to the next one on the list here, which is the Lion Clan.
The Lion. So, Lion are very military
Rawr.
focused. They like yeah,
Rawr.
that's exactly right.
The Frosted Flakes clan.
Yeah, they're great.
Rawr.
So they seem to be very military focused. Lots of warriors, very honorable. So I would imagine they also can. I mean, in old L5R, they could honor rounded military. They were pretty good at both of those aspects.
Does
They also
sound
had
everything
some-
like I embrace.
Yeah. So that looks to be what their strength is, right? Really good. If you like honorable military, that's pretty much like we're here to fight you, and we're going to fight you kind of fairly with our best warriors. That might be the Lion. Doesn't
Pretty
seem
aggro. They used to be pretty aggro.
Yeah, they seem to be, and they. I mean, looks like they only showed some cheap type characters, but like even their courtier looked like she could fight.
Mhm.
Like, she was roughing that guy up,
Pushing the
Like,
guy
her-
against the wall there, yeah.
Yeah,
She's a
big shit.
Bushi and a courtier, right.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So if you kind of like that warrior aspect, Lion seems to be a pretty cool clan for that. So we'll see as more of their stuff gets shown. But I mean, at their province buffs everybody. That's their ability. Everyone who's in a military conflict all gets bonus. So like, I think Spags nails it. They're going to be a very big like aggro style clan of just like coming at you hard and fast, and just see if they can overwhelm you and just roll through your provinces and your base, killing your dudes.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it. We're doing this. We're doing
Phoenix.
this.
Oh yeah, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Oh, Phoenix.
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 So, Phoenix are the clan that has like the most well-known and strongest Sugenja. So if you like spellcasting, the magic aspect, that's cool. Looks like in the story they do them as like the pacifists. They don't like to get involved with a lot of the dramatics of the other clans and kind of keep to themselves. Some of the things that they've shown is they tend to have characters that trigger if certain rings are the rings that are in the conflict. So they just seem to be a clan that likes to dictate the ring that's being chosen and trying to be triggered in the battle. So that could be cool because it looks like the abilities are really neat. But I guess on the flip side is those abilities are lost if that's not the ring. So you might be paying for a character's really cool ability that doesn't do anything if your opponent can deny you that ring in the challenge. But it seems to be that they want to manipulate and play with the rings that are actually in the conflicts. So that's what I've seen.
And they
All
cast
right.
spells.
Yeah, they cast spells. If you like spell casting, big mages.
Scorp.
Yeah. So the Scorpion clan, I think Spags is really like the ninja, the underhand, sneaky protectors of the empire.
Hala seems to take flair to this.
Yeah.
Scorp. Hey, let's
It
go.
looks stuff that they've seen has cards that play around with the honor wheel and dishonoring opponents. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you want to try to play for the dishonor game, and it looks like they love like messing with your hand, messing with the honor wheel, they're gonna. It looks like they're.
DLR times 4. No, sorry, times
Yeah.
5. Your turn.
Looks like they're gonna be a real fun clan to play against. But it's very thematic. So if you like to play with more of like a different style of denial, not this counter spell, but kind of like what like mill, or you just want to just deny certain aspects and components of the game to your opponent, but try to play that dishonor game, Scorpion are probably gonna be the best to play that.
What about the unicorn?
Well, as mentioned earlier, Unicorn had Cav in the old rules, so they were really good at going where you weren't, killing that stuff. But it looks like they haven't mentioned anything of Cav having like a specific rule, and since the way it looks like the assigning,
We'll have to stretch
it looks
that
like-
out for those people that don't know your short form yet.
for what, cavalry?
Yeah, there you go.
Cavalry.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
It's episode
But,
1, man. Gotta start
Sorry,
with the
sorry.
basics.
So sorry. But since it looks like the way combat challenges, that the way the old Cav rules are going to work differently. But what we've seen from the Unicorn cards that have been spoiled is they tend to have some sort of like movement tricks built in. So it seems like that they might be really good at kind of like bouncing around the moving in and out of conflicts and have that. So that's kind of how they simulate them being like horse riders. And I mean, the Unicorn are cool if you kind of like the Mongols, right? If you're like the handful of people that thought Marco Polo was one of the best series on Netflix, you might want to check out Unicorn. hey man, 100 Eyes is cool. I'm not gonna talk. Talking trash. Good.
What if I'm more of a orange is the new black kind of person? Where do you see me fitting then?
What?
It's kind of Scorpion, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of wheeling and dealing, backstabbing, you know.
There you go.
You know it's interesting you say that we said off the top that the art is probably going to dictate things. I'm looking at the one of the articles here that's just called Legend of the Five Rings, the card game. Well, it doesn't have a fancy name like Crafting a Dynasty or Conflicts of Rokugan. You know, it's just. But
You're looking at the announcement, yeah.
It's got the two swords, and it looks like there's like a ghost dragon in the back, and I just feel like I have to put that card in my deck, so I'll probably have to go dragon.
They showed that in a later one, actually, Jameson.
Oh, where?
In the latest article, it's called. Actually, it's not swords. It's called pacifism. That's cobwebs that have built up on those swords. They haven't been used in a long time, man. Basically, you put it. It says it's a condition. Attached character cannot participate in military conflicts.
Oh, I'm talking about a different one. The art is different.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Where's the? Let me do.
I will say it looks like Dragon does have a character called the Doomed Sugenja. And as we mentioned earlier, I'm drawn to doomed clans that might be calling my name.
Which one?
In that same article about Legend of the Five Rings, the card game, one of the dragon personas is the Doomed Sugenja. So maybe they're just waiting for me. They know it's over.
Well, they see the fall of the empire, you know.
Yeah.
I put
I see what you're talking about. That's like a dragon card. Right?
Yeah, it looks really cool.
So that kind of ghostly, like sword type symbol looks like condition, right? Those are like attachments, essentially.
It's pretty sweet.
Oh, it is an attachment. That is what it's called. Okay, it's just like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Cool.
Pretty
so,
BA.
What do you guys think? I know we hit the.
Yeah, this is a long episode, so we appreciate everyone.
The big mark. Well, there was a lot. There was a lot to go through, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
There's a blackmail card.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So,
it's funny when those things show up, right? Like Sure Gamble in Arkham.
Yes.
Yeah. Just like, oh, this is cool. So yes, it looks like a lot of us pretty excited about L5R, and hopefully, it's Bad Pub has kind of spun in some other games. It'll be another game that we can do a lot of episode and content over.
Yeah,
so
hopefully it will be your source. It's your source for your L5R.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet. Our Spags is going to revive the Stronghold.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
What?
I think I'll work for that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Cool. Yeah, well, anything you guys want to add? Any final thoughts?
We'll sign under the Stronghold label.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you guys think as the newer players when you've looked at it?
Yeah.
I think that it's really exciting to consider the game, even like on the high level. There's sort of this there's this RNG based on like player choice. Like I think often you get the RNG just from the deck alone, but even the fate mechanic itself is do I want to pay in, like I mentioned before, do I want to pay into these characters? And I can definitely see a scenario where, you get into this highly competitive game, and the game basically turns into, well, it looks like Spags is only paying 3 for this personality he's put into play, and then Corey's going to go all in and put in 4, and then at some point in the game, that makes a very large difference, right? Like that makes a significant difference, and I like those tiny things. Like whenever you watch a Netrunner game, and you guys remember this when NAPD contract was played heavily, right? Where people would be like, "I run 3 credits, NAPD," and you're like, "Oh my god! Like you could have won the game. Why did you not click for 1 credit?" Like
the World Championship.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Like those kinds of what do you want to call it? Whether they're mistakes or just the way they judge what they should do at that time. Those help make the game. Like those are really big things in the game. And like I said, to me, on top of the game being balanced and and having the competitive portion of it, there's this you want to make it a great game to spectate, because that will ultimately bring more people into playing. And so I like the mechanics, like the betting, where you have the fate mechanic. Well, you're betting on the cards you put into play. And then the actual bet on, like, hey, am I going to draw cards versus gain this honor? Those mechanics are the kind of things that where, you watch as a player, or you watch as a fan, and you're like, oh shit, he bid one? Oh no, I don't think this is a good idea. Oh god, like those, like you watch that, and you're like, oh, that's really really cool.
Yeah,
this puts me into the game. You can see the back and forth.
It seems like there is more to talk about in a game than we've seen before, right? Like I agree with you there totally, Hollis, and there's going to be more to talk about after in turning points of the game, right? Because it seems like there's so many. I know we talked about the analysis paralysis thing, but that's each one of those is a different turning point, right? Like a fork in the game could go a different way, right? Like, what happens if someone had have, drawn up so many cards, or if they had have, challenged for a different ring, or whatnot. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far, and it's just a shame that it's so far away.
103 days. I brought up the Gen Con count. Clicker.
103 days.
Just throwing that out. So, timestamp the episode. But a big thing that I'm a fan of is it looks like the game gives you a lot of interesting decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And
compared to like Thrones, like
right.
in these dude fight games, that's what I don't like, is that there's not enough choice. Like that's why we love Netrunner, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a game today where I'm like, I'm Andy against HB. Oh, I'm just screwed. No, I won because I think maybe because I made some right decisions. Like, you can just click for cards or credits. And in this, with the fate and the card draw, those are going to present a lot of player options. A lot of player agency involved.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of choices to be made
Yes.
along the way in this game, and I don't know if it's going to be, if there's, I mean, obviously there will at times, but I don't know if there's going to be a most obvious route to go to, and I think that will make for interesting games to watch, because it seems like the board state is not everything in this game, right? Like the way you guys are talking about some of these other card interactions from back in the day, it seems like there can be a lot of surprises that are sprung.
The board state is so fluid, which is kind of interesting, and that almost lends to the story aspect, right? Because it's like when you're reading a book or something, like these are the characters I have right now. Some of them stay, like your main character, your powerful character, you put a lot of fate on, they're staying, and other characters are going to flow in and out. And I think that's kind of interesting. It's new. It seems kind of unique to me.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's gonna be real exciting. Like Gen Con, all these people kind of checking out this new game. Or
if you get an event ticket.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll sell out. There'll probably be 80 tickets, and it'll sell out in the first 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And then that it cuts to a top 4.
Yeah.
Like what?
It doesn't cut at all, dude. It's like 4 pounds of Swiss.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
People are so excited to get their hands on the cards. They don't care about the tournament.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Jeremy Zwern's gonna win it anyway. Why do we even care?
No.
We know he can play. He's gonna win. Like
He can't play. Now he's an employee. I saw him last year. We gave him crap, Eric Kaoli and I, because he had to work the booth the whole time.
It's great. So
everyone's excited here.
Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
it. It seems like this is going to be the new push. And I mean, if you're talking those numbers before, if we even get a fraction of that older, player base back, this could be pretty monstrous.
I do have a small concern,
Uh-oh.
No.
but that's only because
Because now you have to buy like 5 living card game packs a month.
I got to buy like it's like how much money am I giving them per month, really? So my only real concern is that like we've seen the way, like I feel like in a CCG model, and I guess this isn't a really perfect like way to look at it, but I feel like in a CCG model, if a faction is underrepresented or they're missing cards, I feel like it's a lot easier because they release so many cards in the CCG to say, oh man, like Crab really needs some help. Hey guys, Rook, here it is. Like next 6 months, next 3 months, bow, they got these amazing new crab cards, and like they're now like the new dominant deck. But we've seen, in the way FFG is presented, like changes in Netrunner. Like any new edition, like any new card editions take a while before they get printed. Now it's cool that we have a ton of factions. That's awesome. But in a game like this, where I think they're banking to an extent, because the old game did this, they're banking on people to sort of have an allegiance to certain factions, or an allegiance to a oh my god, what is it called? Clan, sorry. Wow. Like an allegiance to a certain clan, they're saying, oh, well, if they're really into Crane, they'll play Crane regardless of how good it is. And in my head, as a competitive card game player, I'm like, yeah, I mean, sure. Like, that's only so good. Like, after a while, at some point, those Crane players are going to go, you know what, though? Scorpion's really good. And I think we kind of, if we're going to pay money to go to this tournament and try to win it, I think we probably need to switch over to Scorpion.
So counterpoint to that could be how they do the storyline.
I was just going to say the same. It could all depend on the story stuff.
Yeah, right. Because there may be a clan that might be the dominant deck and be the hotness, but if you don't want their storyline to pan out the way that it might, enough people may switch or find ways, or build just a counter to that deck and find ways to play it just to stomp them in the storyline or to prevent them from reaching.
Do you think we go the Netrunner approach then? So you look at what is the weakest faction or clan out of the core box, and you know that all of a sudden that one's going to get the most bonus over the...
And to me, that's the tough part, right? Like, for example, like right now, I don't... Depending after everything settles down from TD and people have a time to do like a deep analysis of the best cards and the best decks of what's out from TD plus the current card pool and rotation and blah, 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 we're still going to get, okay, so this faction, this color, whatever, is like the worst out of the options available. And because of the worst, that doesn't necessarily mean they may counter the best thing. They could actually just be the worst overall. And my worry is like, if you have like, just picking one, if Crane is the worst overall and Scorpion is the best, as an example, and there's no real counterplay from Crane to Scorpion, it's just a clearly like underpowered faction. Even though people may very much, heavily move to Crane to try to push Scorpion out for the story, mechanically, the game has to support that as well. Because if it doesn't, what you're going to get is you're still going to get a lot of people playing, Crane and Scorpion's still going to win.
What's going to be interesting that too is, so there's different parts of the game, but seeing when clans that want to play opposite games match. So, like, if I'm playing Lion, I'm trying to play military against you, most likely, right? But if you roll up with, like, your Scorpion clan deck and you're like, I'm going to dishonor you, Lion, and the Lion's like, well, that's cool. I'm not really playing in the political phase that much, so I'm just going to try to steamroll you in military. And you can try to go ahead and dishonor me if you want, but I'm already starting pretty high up on the wheel, so we'll see how this game pans out. But if you take two clans that look to be doing the exact opposite things, so Crane is just like, I want to try to like deny an honor run, and then Scorpion's like, well, I want to try to deny and dishonor. It's probably like watching like two like white-blue decks play each other. It's just like, nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah.
What happens if you mirror match?
Yeah, so it's going to be really... this is a neat thing, though, because it looks like all the clans kind of have like their little thing that they do, and to see how on that wheel, how they interact against each other.
Yeah. Like, in order for like the story... To me, in order for the story element to be uniquely impactful, the decision... And again, I admittedly, I'm not an old L5R player, so I don't know how they had executed this. But I think if you want it to be truly impactful, I don't think the necessary, condition is who wins XYZ tournaments. Mm-hmm. Because if that's it, then it's just, all right, mechanically, what's the best competitively? Statistically, they're more likely to win. So you have to look at, all right, so when you go to the tournament, how many people played this faction?
Sure.
And then that's a weighing condition.
Well, one thing they did also, Hollis, back in the day, best of clan was a big deal. So you know what? If you went to Gen Con and you're like, Crab's not that good, and I'm going to try and be the best crab because they still get a boss-ass prize. Like, imagine they get a top of clan playmat. Each clan gets one, and that's a unique thing. So it's like you might be fighting for that. Like, there's some cool stuff, or even like there were times like you could imagine you got a buy into Worlds. You know how like people who win nationals get a buy into Worlds?
Yeah.
What if like you have the most crab wins on the year,
and that gets you the buy?
And you're the crab warlord, and that gets you like a round one buy. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they did some neat clan specific prize stuff too, because I know they did one like event for new players, and if you racked up like so many wins, you could get a banner for your clan for the store. Right. So this is when like after they got rid of Path of Shadow, but like at the book exchange in Augusta, I have a Crane Clan banner hanging up there that I helped to contribute and get because I just played Crane like nonstop when I was up there. So there's neat little prizes, things like that you can do too. That, yeah, they may not be top tier, the best, but as long as they can be semi-competitive, people will play it because there might be less competition in that clan's top structure.
Right. Yeah. So that house, I wonder if that answers. If they're smart, they will support clan loyalty and put some cool top of clan.
Right.
Because, you know, like we have that Tundinator guy in Slack. He's like, I want to be the top Atom player, you know, even though there are only 5 at Worlds. But, you know, that's his goal, but there was no real reward per se. But if they give something actually cool for it, people will try for it.
I agree with that. Like, especially if in every event, whether it's, you know, like not really like a regional level, but if you're talking like nationals and worlds, if there is a top clan prize, this like makes total sense. Sure,
like,
you
can
have
get
a prize.
One of these? Get one of these for top clan.
Oh damn!
But that's a really cool prize. So in Florida at Dogs of War Gaming, when they do regionals for like Netrunner, they do trophies for all their top of faction. So like top Jinteki, top MBN, top Wayland.
That's cool.
Yeah, top this. They have like these really awesome acrylic trophies they hand out for each person who's the highest ranked in all those factions.
That's not the norm though in Netrunner.
Right. It's not. But that stuff gets people excited, and some people will show up being like, yeah, I might want to win this tournament. But we've had people talk and be like, but I think I could probably play for like top Wayland or top Jinteki. Yep. So I would rather try to win that
trophy. Yeah, some people are like, I got a 20% chance to win the tournament with this faction, but I've got an 85% chance to win top of clan. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think if they do support that, I think it would be great. Because even I've gone into events with Netrunner and been like, this is who I play, and I'm not changing, right? So to reward that, I mean, we saw a little bit of that at some of the FFG World events, where I think top faction got some click trackers or something.
Oh yeah, they did that for Thrones too. Like top house player got like a wooden like house card or whatever.
But I don't think they did very much for it, like with the other stuff, right? So
yeah, but I'm not too familiar with like Star Wars LCG and cool.
I'm definitely in the camp of like between like Netrunner, which is, you know, very much like just play the best, like pretty much play the best competitive deck you can ever, right? And then Arkham, which is, you know, it's not even a competitive game. This is a cooperative game. It's amazing that if L5 VAR hits the you know, basically hits that gap of, all right, you have just play the best competitive deck, have a cooperative game, and now it's basically play the best as you can in whatever faction. Just be the best in your faction. They actually hit all these sort of unique zones for different kinds of players. Because you have some people that don't care to be competitive. They could care. They really don't care about whether they win individually versus an entire pool of people. A game like Arkham Horror is fantastic because it's cooperative. And then you have people that enjoy Netrunner because it's a very competitive game like that. Mm-hmm. And the idea that you can still have a competitive game in a game like L5R, but it's like, I play Crane, you play Unicorn, Jameson plays like, you know, Lion, and Spax plays Scorpion. You know, like it doesn't really matter. Like all of it, if we're doing the best out of our clan, we're gonna come home with the cool playmat, the cool sword, like, and the rep for that.
Or the storyline prize. You know, they've done these where like imagine top 16 all gets a vote towards with the storyline decision. And all the top of clan does as well.
Oh.
If you finish top as clan, you've got the same level as a top 16, man. So that's a big thing, too. They could do a lot like that with the storyline.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Only time will tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry. All the potential is what's exciting to me. If the execution is fantastic, this could be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be the thing we're all holding our breath the most on. Because I mean, I love the games that they put out, but they are a company that does not like to change their ways, or if they do change, the change comes very, very slowly.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
So you're saying you're tempering all these expectations based on past experience, right?
yeah. I just hope like when all the clans, like all the clan loyal players, all show up to a big event, they all section off and we all do intros like West Side Story or whatever. That's right. We all have our own like theme song and dance number that we come into the tournament area.
Are we gonna fight with like our thumbs tied together with knives and just boy, like what is this?
Yeah. So
We were like, what are you doing? I don't know. Listen,
Oh, damn.
That's not my hope.
yeah. All right. Well, just look for me. I'll be grouping up Gen Con. Getting there.
With the rest of the dragons.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Dragons.
I'm a free agent right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's it going to cost to sign you?
That's right. Let's see. I'll take offers.
So wait, just to clarify this, Spags, is it possible that like in old L5R, let's say you and I were basically two different clans and we're effectively the best in our clan?
To still be
Is there
friends?
Well, is there like Gamers Hands of Fate? Is there a bribery concept where I'm like, yo, I will literally lose this game right now, but when you vote, you got to vote my guy.
Totally, of course.
Yeah.
It's insane.
There is
That used to
actually
be-
in the old tournament rules, there is actually like a bribery type rule set in. Like there had to be a judge present, and
That's insane.
you can negotiate things at the table on like, hey, you can win this game, or
Yep.
you can take the prize. Just give me this part of the
Or
vote.
there were bounties, like basically
Yeah.
groups of people would collect money and be like, if you win this tournament and you vote the way we want you to, we'll send you this $200, $300 or whatever. You know, that happened all the time. One time Scorpion won a tournament just by paying off people. They never won a game. They paid their opponent all the way through. And it was thematic, like, right? That's what they do in real life.
Wow.
Or in the
Yeah.
real Rokugan life.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't. I believe they didn't win a single game. They bought their way through the entire tournament. It
Pretty
was
sweet.
legal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. That's cool.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Well,
Thanks
a lot
yeah.
of good discussion.
Thanks a
Thank
bunch
you.
for joining us in
Yeah,
this
thanks to everyone again who stuck it out.
epic Legend of the Five Rings with Four Guys breakdown.
Yeah.
Scott, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate your insight as a veteran in the to the samurai forces.
Thanks. Always glad to talk a little nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's cool, man.
All right, everybody else. I think next week we'll be returning to our regularly scheduled programming. So look forward to that and hearing about how Corey does on his legacy adventures through Netrunner.
I'm just throwing those in the trash. I'm just buying the tournament cards.
Whoa.
Spoiler: there will be no spoilers unless you go to the trash can.
So what you're saying is if you buy your second half of TD on eBay, you'll be able to buy my second half on eBay, and you'll be able to play again if you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, all these people are complaining about the one-time playthrough. The people who don't want to play, just sell them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should
like, there you go. You can
Oh
get
man,
another
maybe I just
go at
let the cat out the bag on my
More stickers.
my college funds. All right, guys. Really appreciate everybody, and thanks again.
it. Yeah, everyone, take care.
Have a good night.